into fighting games for quite a while now, but the thing that truly made me fall in love with the genre was going to my very first tournament at EVO 2019. I didn't get very far, but the thrill of competition, the sense of community that was formed by talking and competing with fellow fighting game fans, and the hype moments that organically emerged from watching the best in the world do what they do best, all made for an experience that I knew I had to revisit every year from that point on.
It's Goichi, your Dragon Ball FighterZ 2019 EVO champion!
This year though, I wanted to document that experience and share it, to show the work that goes into trying to be competitive at a fighting game, even for someone who doesn't consider themselves to be a quote-unquote pro, to put a lens on what happens beyond the main stage at EVO, and ultimately, show people the love of fighting games. Also, selfishly, I want a way to motivate myself to try and break through my own barrier of going 3-2 in Guilty Gear Strive. And so, hello, my name is Mitchell Saltzman, and this is my Road to EVO Video Diary, Episode 1. So, first things first, I gotta get back up to speed in Guilty Gear Strive. For the last few months, my brain has been all about Street Fighter 6, with everything relating to the review, to trying to grind up the ranks, and to just playing a new and exciting fighting game with my group of friends. The thing is, because I did the review for Street Fighter 6 and received an early copy of the game, I am officially, by Capcom, disqualified from participating in EVO for Street Fighter 6, so it's Guilty Gear Strive or bust for me. All that said, I had a ton of rust to shake off. And after grinding ranked matchmaking for a day and getting knocked down to floor 9 a handful of times, it was clear that I had lost something in my time away from the game. And if I truly wanted to compete at the highest level and not get blown up, I needed to find out where those holes were. So I decided to do something that I've never done before. Get a coach. Enter Diaphone, one of my favorite fighting game content creators and a person that I credit massively with not just improving my own skill through his videos, but also my mentality. He was gracious enough to give me an hour of his time to review a handful of my matches, identify some weaknesses, and give me some pointers on how to correct them. And so, let's move on to the crux of this video. Here are 5 things I learned from a pro fighting game player.
So I'd like to focus on some defensive situations once we go through all of this, because I think there's a few options you're not really using on defense.
One of the first things that Diaphone noticed was that I wasn't making use of some of my best defensive options. Faultless defense, for example, is a defensive technique that creates a barrier that negates chip damage and pushes your opponent back slightly when they hit it, at the cost of some of your tension meter. Because I wasn't really using it at the right times or against the right moves, players were able to run pressure game plans that are just incredibly hard to stop. He also recommended that I incorporate more backdashes on defense.
You don't want to do all the time, but it is good to do on occasion, right? Because a lot of people get lazy and they don't opt to select their safe jumps, or they mistime things, especially in a tournament setting, because let's be real, we flew out to Vegas, we might have jet lag, we might have lack of sleep, we might have all these other factors, we might be nervous, right? So in those kind of situations, backdash becomes better. What can I say?
Backdashes have about 5 or 6 frames of invulnerability on their startup, and so they can very often completely avoid certain melee attacks that are either poorly timed or don't have very many active frames, as well as throws. They still get blown up by attacks with lengthy active frames, but if you have the right read, their reward is immense. Number 2, bursts earlier. In several of my matches against this chip, he successfully does what's called a burst bait on me, which is a combo designed to make me use my limited use get out of jail free card called a burst. Only they're prepared to block it if the burst happens. It feels bad when you get burst baited. You waste your burst, you're in a position to get punished hard, and worst of all, you lose your entire burst gauge, making it so that you almost certainly won't get your burst back next round. Diaphone's recommendation was to use burst earlier as a general note, and to make sure that I'm using my burst against moves where the burst is guaranteed.
If you bursted properly that match, you have had burst here, which means that you could have bursted like right here if you wanted. Means you could have bursted like whatever the follow-up was before you got wall broken. Like you could have bursted before you got the 50.
By using the burst earlier, I get it back sooner, take less damage from the combo, and reduce the likelihood of getting burst baited. The exception to this is in the final round of the match, since there's no getting your burst back after that.
How many Geo drill kicks, 236K, were done in those 5 matches?
I don't think that many. Did I do a lot?
0.
0? Yeah, okay.
0.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't do very many. This was a very character-specific note, but Diaphone noticed that I wasn't using Giovanna's Travao special move, which most people just call drill because of its visual similarity to Cammy's cannon drill in Street Fighter. It's a move that I've always viewed as very risky, because of its long startup and its vulnerability to every character's universal anti-air attack, 6P. But it's an incredibly useful move for my character Giovanna, as it gets her in the range she wants to be in, crushes through projectiles, and crucially, leaves her at a +4 frame advantage on block, allowing me to take my turn back and threaten with either a block string or a dash up throw.
There's a good rule of thumb. Justin Wong always had this rule, and I've always like stuck by it myself, which is always assume your opponent's an idiot until they prove otherwise, right? And I think with Geo, that means doing 236k in pressure and in neutral and seeing if they can deal with it, right? And unless you actually do it, then you won't know for sure if they can actually deal with it.
Number 4, option selects on safe jumps. Okay, so we're getting into some deeper fighting game terminology here, so I'm going to do my best to explain it. A key part of Giovanna's game plan is utilizing what's known as safe jumps to continue her pressure after a knockdown. Basically, it's a move that's specifically timed so that if an opponent just blocks when they get up, I will hit their block as normal and can continue my pressure. But if the opponent tries to use an invincible reversal, like an overdrive or a Dragon Punch style move, I will hit the ground in time to block it. What I always thought was a weakness of this technique was that people could backdash on wake up to avoid blocking the safe jump and then punish me before I was able to do anything about it. But Diaphone taught me an option select that would cover backdashes, making it so that I didn't have to do weird and risky reads, like safe jumping in and then backdashing out.
But basically what I'm doing, I'm pressing JH and then I'm pressing S. So it looks like this. You see how this comes out if I whiff a normal? But if you just block, nothing happens, right? Like the S doesn't come out.
Okay, there we go.
That you did it, but it is 2S, but that still works, right?
One final thing that Diaphone was able to pick up from watching my replays is that my opponents were pretty disrespectful on defense. They would mash out of my block strings or find spots to either backdash or jump to escape. To that end, he brought up the concept of layering my offense, which in fighting game terms basically means that you start off with the option that has the highest success rate of beating common defensive options. And if your opponent shows that they can respond correctly to that layer, then you move on to layer 2, then layer 3, etc.
So like, in my opinion, layer 1 should always be something that like beats the majority of like nutty shit opponents want to do, right? So something like a 5S and the 2S will beat like all the jumping and the mashing throw that the May player was doing, as opposed to going for like a backdash, like a dash forward, dash back, or jump in, backdash, that sort of thing, which is like designed to beat specific options, but it loses to most options, if that makes sense.
And those were the 5 things I took away from my session with Diaphone. Needless to say, I was eager to put the lessons to the test, and sure enough, despite having struggled to remain in floor 10 the night before, as soon as I started playing, I went on a tear, winning 7 games in a row, bringing me back up to the Celestial Challenge, which I proceeded to lose against Chip. So, there's still work to do on that front. But not too long after, I managed to work my way back up to the challenge, and this time, finally got back to Celestial. Of course, I had to ask Diaphone to give me his honest thoughts on my chances of accomplishing my goal of getting out of pools at EVO.
Oh, easily, yeah. I think depends how much you practice, right? It depends on a good amount of like bracket luck. Like, let's be real. Like, you could you could play like, you could get 2 DQs and then you could play against like 2 people that just play this game casually, and then you already beat people, right? So, I'm not gonna lie, some of it's gonna come down to luck. But I think if you play your cards right, you practice, and you get everything well defined, I think you can make it out of your pool at EVO.
My next step, as Diaphone suggested, is to enter an online tournament to get some tourney level experience under my belt, and that's what I'll be covering next week in this Road to EVO diary. Till then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Welcome back to IGN Live at Gamescom. Earlier this week, Jeff Keighley's opening night live officially kicked off Gamescom with some big new game reveals. One of the most interesting games was Where Winds Meet, a bold new third-person action game with some awesome twists on the genre. Joining me now are Brian Altano and all the way from IGN Israel, being updated in real time on the prompter, Danny Lee. Welcome to the IGN stage here.
Hi everyone, I'm very excited to be here actually on Gamescom and with you guys.
Yes.
And talk about this amazing game that we saw yesterday.
What
Yeah.
a cool surprise, right?
This looks really cool. I think a lot of people are describing this as Ghost of Tsushima in medieval China, which works for me.
It's like Opening Night Live had, there was games based on Killer Clowns from Outer Space and Dune, and we saw Sonic, but like it was
Too
so
many
cool
space games, by the
there
way.
was a lot of that,
A
but
lot of space
This
games.
is a brand new IP, and I think that was such a treat. And I think the more this trailer kind of unfolded, the bigger and more grander this game just looks. It just seems like a massive undertaking, and it's just incredibly ambitious.
Okay.
I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it at all, and the opening got me so excited. Look at the lyrics. It's very emotional, and you see the opening with the environment, and I can't wait to see what it's going to bring. And you see the protagonist over there
Yep.
going wild. So I can't wait to see the whole gameplay and how it's going to work. I'm intrigued, and look at it. The graphic looks great, and it still needs to work. There's a lot of work to be done still, but I believe it's going to be very interesting to see the outcome. Look at her. It's magical.
Yeah, like it opened up with a lot of cinematic stuff, which is really cool,
Right.
and then eventually it got into gameplay, which feels like that trend is kind of going away these days, because we got a lot of
Right.
cinematic trailers, but not a ton of gameplay with a lot of stuff, but this one
Yeah.
jumped right into it. Now,
Yeah.
Damon, this is like a studio that we don't really know a ton about, right?
Exactly.
Everstone?
Yeah, I actually did some research. Couldn't find anything about them. I don't think they have a
Interesting.
website yet. So that's the one thing. Like this formula, I love Ghost of Tsushima. I love open world action RPGs. So
Yeah.
tell me you're taking that formula, putting it in medieval China. That sounds great to me. The only question mark for me is sort of an unproven developer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's all.
yeah. I really like what's going on with sort of the interactivity. You'll start to see a little bit more gameplay open up here, where there's some really interesting sort of magical mechanics, which
Yeah.
we didn't really get into in stuff like Ghost of Tsushima.
I think there's going to be a little bit more fantasy in this than there was in Ghost.
It felt, though, there's a few moments that I saw that they have kind of a Tencent's moves like in Ghost of Tsushima.
Yep.
And the move of the camera is the same, very cinematic,
Yep.
old school vibe. And I love to see the environment more changing. I like to see it.
It reminds me of Gambit from X-Men, where he can kind of weaponize things magically in his environment. And so we have this character just kind of looked over, saw a sword on the table, and was like, "I'll take that,"
I have a
force.
huge crush on Gambit, so if you're
wow.
saying
Does
it,
it?
I'm
Does
taking
it?
it all over.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Get in line.
Yeah, this stuff is awesome. This reminds me of some of the verticality we saw in Sekiro, just jumping up on a roof,
Yeah.
running around, but freezing enemies in place. You'll see this in a second. All these people jump up, and this character just goes bing,
Bing.
and boom, they're just stuck. And I don't know how
you're going
long-
to stay that
how
way.
long do you have to stay? And then you jump right onto the cart, which is just awesome. So there'll be some vehicular stuff, horseback riding, of course.
Yeah.
Can't have an open world game like that
Beautiful.
without this. But yeah, what was happening
What was
there?
there?
And okay, so I
Get
have
outta
some
here,
questions.
fish.
So
And that bear.
this specifically, the character is a nuisance to animals in the environment. So there we saw a bear yells at you, and you bottle it and throw it back at him, and you're like, "Get out of here, bear!" And then I guess you piss off that goose, and he can hang out with you. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that is very different than kind of similarly adjacent games that we've seen in this genre. But just look at the texture work, look at the lighting. It's just so moody.
We actually have an interview with the developers on IGN.com.
Oh,
you should
awesome.
definitely check out. There's apparently a very robust job system in the game where you can actually take on many different professions. One of them, for example,
Such as?
Animal botherer. is a-
you can get poisoned by an animal out in the wild. But if you happen to be a doctor, then you have the skills you need to heal yourself.
Oh, so it
Yeah,
gives
really
you some
cool.
skills to,
Yeah,
to
exactly,
use.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
so they're the characters not only running on water,
Yeah,
but
so
also
here's the more fantastical
yeah.
element.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that moment. When they're blowing up the barrels. This
Yeah.
is insane.
This seems again, crazy ambitious for a developer that we've never heard a lot about
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
But this feels AAA to me, right? This is a big,
True.
huge game with a ton of interactivity, a ton of play choice and decisions, and I like how they're weaving in the cinematics and stuff like that too. It's just a very beautiful game.
But Brian, this is going to be some information that might be a tough pill to swallow for some. It's going to be plenty welcome news for others, but for you and I, this is currently only announced for PC.
What?
I know.
Just
come on.
for now.
For now.
For now.
Hey, Everstone, do me a solid. Drag and drop this game onto consoles. I know it's super easy to do that.
Fast.
Just
That's how it
Control
works,
C,
right?
Control V on the
Save
PS5.
as.
Yeah,
Save
I
as
like
dot
to play my
PS5.
games when I'm kicking my enemy's ass. I just
Yeah.
like to do it when I'm chilling out on my couch with my
Yeah.
controller like that,
Yes.
man.
Well, because I have a Steam Deck and I can already hear that thing
Oh.
bursting into flames trying to run this game. So, like, this
No,
feels.
but this game deserves to play on huge TV,
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
OLED TV,
Yeah, I
you
think
know,
so.
with
That feels,
everything.
it feels like
it's
properly
incredible.
next gen, right?
Definitely
I think
next
we're
gen.
finally at that point where we're letting go of the previous systems and we can get some big games like this. So
Indeed.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go. Oh, that's a good
had
idea
it.
for a song.
Yeah.
You should do that. The game is called Where Winds Meet. It's just one of the new and exciting games that's been announced here at Gamescom this week. Opening Night Live was packed with big gaming news. So is IGN's Gamescom coverage, which we're going to keep going right here. In fact, here comes some right now.
whoa.
1994, the Tekken franchise has given the fighting game community some of the most memorable characters and iconic moments in the history of the genre. And nearly 30 years later, it's back with a brand new entry, Tekken 8. Here to break it all down for us is Katsuhiro Harada and Michael Murray. Hey, what's up? So I'm going to jump right in, and I feel like the last time that we talked was at San Diego Comic-Con, so not that long ago, but we did have a very interesting closed network test come up. So I do want to ask, what did you learn from the closed network tests?
今回
Obviously, going into the closed network test, first it's closed, right? So the number of people who could participate was limited. We were foreseeing some problems that we wanted to actually test out in this environment. And we did encounter those problems. But on the flip side, we were kind of surprised that the feedback was better than we expected regarding the player's experience on online connection. That they actually felt that the game felt pretty good over, pretty substantial distances, I guess you could say. But the one thing that did stand out was the Wi-Fi connection. There was a great disparity between the LAN cable players and also the people on Wi-Fi. So we're hoping that we can maybe fine-tune the experience a little bit more for Wi-Fi players.
Awesome. So I have to ask, because you announced that there are 32 characters in game. So what was that like, bringing 32 individual characters to life in Tekken 8?
はい、まさに
It was a huge task in itself, bringing 32 characters to the game. If you look at other fighting games on the market, the number tends to be around 15 to 20 some. So 32 is quite a large number. And also, it's not just about being a fighting game and being able to play your character against opponents. Tekken also kind of has that element of being a character game where not just about the core fighting mechanics, but people want to see their character and see how they're portrayed in the story and how that plays out in the newest installment. So doing that for this game was quite a big hurdle. And also, we wanted to have more, but because of the dev cost restraints, but also it takes quite a long time to create all these characters for the game. So all these kind of dictated the number at the end. That said, though, we do hope to have more post-launch, but this is the starting roster. And I myself would add that another element that made it quite difficult was they were all created from the ground up this time for Tekken 8. So that's totally new. All the character models were redone, which was quite exciting because we were dealing with artists. Everyone's been making, for example, Jin Kazama for 20-some years now. But when you make the model from zero base, it's like little things are off, and you have to kind of fine-tune to make sure they look exactly like the character that everyone remembers. So there was quite a bit that went into the characters themselves.
I never even thought about that, but that's actually really great insight. So, okay, so you talk about this being more than just a fighting game. So I know that there is more character personalization in Tekken 8. So are you telling me that I could put bunny ears on like all the characters?
そうですね、かなり
Yeah, so if you can imagine, Tekken 7 itself had a lot of customization options. So we've even increased it from there, the categories, etc., that you can equip. So in general, yes, you could most likely equip bunny ears to most of the characters, though there are some limitations in certain cases. For example, maybe a character has horns or something that might conflict with it. So we wouldn't say 100% on everyone, but in general, yes, that's the case. In addition to not just the look of your character, but the look of various elements of your game, the life gauges and the player panels, etc. There's a lot that you can do there. But not just that, the music itself can be customized. So we have a jukebox feature, which the fans really loved for the PS version of Tekken 7, but it's back again for Tekken 8, so you can select different pieces of music for various areas of the game.
I love that Tekken 8 seems to be really just showing so much love for the players. So in addition to that, we see that Arcade Quest is a new mode that's coming in. So can you share us some more details on what exactly this new mode is?
アーケードクエストは
So yes, the Arcade Quest is a brand new feature for Tekken 8. We just want to be totally clear that this doesn't replace the story mode that people are used to, which portrays the actual in-game characters and the story arcs and the machinemas, etc. This is totally separate from that. This is more about the player's story, and it's made to kind of recreate the arcade feel that Harada and myself experienced when we were, students, and many other people our age. I had a great time there. And we feel that kind of was the roots of what grew into what we see now as esports, right? It started off as that kind of competitive culture in the arcade. So people from our generation will instantly recognize that and feel nostalgic. But for younger people, maybe they didn't have the chance because arcades weren't as common as they are back then. So maybe it's the first time they're seeing a kind of a virtual arcade, and they can kind of see, oh, this is where my parents were hanging out and enjoying themselves, and also to understand a little bit more about that competitive culture. So you can tell that from between the story mode and also this new arcade quest mode, there's a great deal of volume there for one-player content. So, this new arcade quest mode, it lets you go through the mode, and as a player, you're kind of evolving, learning the basics of not only the new features of Tekken 8, but also Tekken in general, the gameplay, and kind of helps you learn the ropes. But not just that, there's a cool new feature also that's been implemented with ghost characters. So it's kind of this AI learning. Not only does it kind of tailor your opponents, so you'll see CPU opponents actually fight like real players. Maybe even like a copy of some famous player you've seen in an esports stream, etc. But not just that, as you evolve as a player and get better, this AI ghost of yourself, it mimics you. So if you drop a combo, it'll mimic that. It'll mimic all kinds of different aspects of your play. So you can see the AI ghost version of yourself get even more skillful as you as a player grow.
Okay. So that's good to know because my AI is definitely just going to be spamming one move constantly. So if you find that one, that is me, and I'm not even sorry about it. So actually, speaking of fighting styles, so could you go into more details about how guard damage will affect the overall strategy in Tekken 8? How does this change the dynamics of a fight?
Fighting games are unique in one aspect, especially that if you're able to block your opponent's attacks, then you negate all the damage, right? Usually. So this is unique in that, for example, first-person shooters or others, if you line up your attack, usually the damage happens. So this time the key concept for Tekken 8 is aggressiveness, right? So in order to kind of enhance this experience, one of the new mechanics is certain attacks will deal kind of recoverable damage to your opponent. So this kind of alleviates the instance where you see two people going back and forth and they're unable to kind of break out of that match, right? So this is supposed to kind of foster players to make them want to go on the offense and to rush down their opponent. So this is what we call the chip damage when you deal the damage while they're blocking, right? And also this can be recovered by doing various different actions. So there is a way to alleviate that, but it is designed to make the game more aggressive.
So speaking of unique elements within fighting games, what inspired the development team to create the brand new Heat system and revised Rage system? And how did you ensure it would resonate with longtime fans?
そうですね。
With fighting games, it's quite interesting that to us, each installment of Tekken is quite different with the different changes we've made to the battle systems. And we feel that players feel the same way who are actually following the games closely. But for people who aren't into fighting games, a lot of times just because the perspective of the screen from a sideways view looks the same, they'll be like, oh, fighting games haven't changed in how many years. That's not the case, we think. Especially this time with the Heat system, it's designed for aggressive gameplay like we were saying, and it does many things. One of the main things is the inspiration was if you're watching some kind of martial arts match and you see maybe there's back and forth and there's no big moments, but then all of a sudden a certain punch will land and then the outcome of the match changes drastically, right? So that was kind of the thing that we were going after for the Heat system this time around, to create those kind of iconic moments within a match, not just for the people playing, but for the people who are spectating. And granted, the overall feedback we've gotten from both the CAT and then the closed test we did recently, it seems like overall the players really liked that new change and it felt new. We did get a lot of useful feedback, so we will be fine-tuning the game and changing it a bit after that, though. And just personally, I'd like to add one thing that, like Harada's mentioning as the main core concept of it, but another cool thing I think about the Heat system is that each character is kind of unique in their moves and their play styles and strategies, but then when the Heat system kicks in for each character, it goes even more. They get access to new techniques during the Heat state, or certain parameters like King, when he throws his opponents, they'll actually recover the Heat gauge. So there's a lot of things that make the characters even more unique when they're in the Heat state. So I think that's a really cool addition this time.
That's so cool. I can't believe you wanted to add more characters on top of all of that. That's actually crazy. I mean, this is going to be great. And players don't have to wait too long, right? When actually does this game drop?
It's coming January 26th, 2024.
Awesome. You heard it here. Thank you so much for speaking with us today. The Tekken 8 hits PC, PS5, and Xbox next year, and we'll be covering every hard-hitting moment right here on IGN as we count down for the days for it.
You could chalk up Mortal Kombat's massive success as a fighting game franchise to a number of factors. Its 30-year legacy, its attention-grabbing and unparalleled violence.
You shame your ancestors.
Its beloved roster of characters, its deep fighting mechanics, the list just goes on and on. But I'd argue that one of the most important elements of Mortal Kombat's success, especially since Mortal Kombat 9, has been its single-player offerings, which is one thing that we haven't really seen out of the upcoming Mortal Kombat 1. Until now, that is. At a recent event, I got to go hands-on with the first chapter of Mortal Kombat 1's Cinematic Story Mode, as well as its brand new Invasion Mode. My early impressions are that NetherRealm doesn't seem to be loosening its grip on the crown as the king of fighting game single-player modes just yet.
That is amazing.
Mortal Kombat 1's premise of it being a complete timeline reset, with Liu Kang being the architect of its creation, leads to an unusual start to an MK story. There's initially no conflict. After a very cool and intriguing encounter between two returning faces that I don't want to spoil for you here, the first chapter follows Kung Lao, who is now a farmer that works the field with his friend, Raiden, who is notably not a thunder god and now wears an appropriate hat for his profession. After a friendly competition in the field, the two head inside a tea house where they're greeted by Smoke of the Lin Kuei. Turns out the owner of the tea house owes the Lin Kuei some money, and Smoke is there to collect. What follows is what you'd expect to have a Mortal Kombat story mode. A series of battles that tell the story of this particular conflict, with Sub-Zero and Scorpion all jumping into the mix to fight against Kung Lao and Raiden as well. What's notable here is that Kung Lao doesn't yet have his bladed hat, and thus does not have full access to his usual moveset. Likewise, Raiden has not awakened his lightning powers either, so his cameo only has one move that you're able to call upon as an assist. Beyond that though, NetherRealm definitely seems to be continuing with its "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" philosophy for the main story mode, which is hard to blame them for, even though I do wish that these chapters could get some optional character-specific tutorials, so I wouldn't have to go into each of them completely in the dark when it comes to what the character can actually do. In what is a surprising turn for the series, Mortal Kombat 1 is doing away with the Crypt mode that has been a staple in the series ever since 2002's Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. In its place is a new single-player mode called Invasions that combines the rewards of the Crypt with the wacky-themed battles of MK11's Towers of Time, and presents it all like a Mortal Kombat themed board game. While there are no dice rolls to determine how many spaces you move, every space on the board houses some kind of themed event. The first board is themed around Johnny Cage's mansion, Casa del Cage. So when you stop on the first space, you'll need to fight against a Baraka that's apparently stolen the key to the front door. After that, you're able to enter the mansion and are guided through its rooms and halls, with more Easter eggs than you can shake a stick at. It's got everything from the famous Sega Genesis blood code,
It's ABACABB.
to the theater marquee from Injustice 2, and plenty more that any longtime NetherRealm fan is sure to catch on to and giggle at. Many of the fights have gimmicks to them, which should be familiar to anyone who's played through any of Mortal Kombat 11's Towers of Time. In one, portals open up and have freezing ice balls teleport in and slowly home in on me. In another, purple zones appear and increase gravity, making it impossible to jump in or use juggle combos. Sometimes they're not fights at all. One encounter was a survival challenge that demanded I avoid a series of energy balls by leaping over and ducking under them. There are a couple of other factors at play as well that serve to deepen the mechanics. There's an elemental damage system at play, where if you use a character that has the element of fire, they'll deal more damage to an enemy aligned with the ice element, for example. Those aforementioned energy balls in the survival challenge will do less damage to you if you're an energy type character. And you can also equip special talismans to give your character a unique special move and potentially give them attacks outside their own element. What I really liked about the Invasion mode is that there's a sense of progression that you never really got with the Towers mode of previous games. You're leveling up your characters and adding stats to better handle increasingly difficult missions, you're constantly unlocking new items for both within the mode and outside of it after every encounter you clear, and there's a great sense of completion when you finally get to the end of a board and are able to move on to the next one. Similar to Crypt, you'll also occasionally find portals that each contain some sort of unlockable cosmetic. These boards are also refreshed seasonally, with a new story being added every season. The story for the first season focuses on the tragedy of Scorpion and how a version of Hanzo Hasashi has been going through timeline after timeline trying to find one where his wife, Harumi, had avoided being killed, only to find that only one such timeline existed, the timeline of MK1, where Harumi is alive and well, but also happily in the arms of Kuai Liang. And so this season's boards will all center around Scorpion's rage and his vow to burn this timeline down. It's a pretty cool setup for a what-if style story, and it's definitely enough motivation for me to see things through to the end once Mortal Kombat 1 comes out on September 19th for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Thanks for watching, and for more Mortal Kombat 1, check out our videos for every fatality we've seen so far. And for everything else, give it a year on IGN.
Fatality. Kung Lao wins. You'll lose. You always do. Your own damned arrogance will bring your downfall.
The world has ended, but we lived on. The tower is our home. The only one we've ever known. The ones who built it wanted to control our fate, to shape us like we were their playthings. They wanted to manipulate our minds and our bodies, be our gods. But they overreached. It took strength, determination, and sacrifice. But we prevailed. The ghosts of the old world are gone. We're on our own. It won't be easy, but for the first time in a long time, we can make our own future. Little by little, step by step, we'll find our way. And we all have one man to thank for it. The man who faced his own creators and proved them wrong.
If you destroy me, the remaining Cybervoid system will shut down. You won't survive without them. You won't survive without me. No. No! I will not be deleted by a mere tool! I forbid you, Ghost Runner!
My name is Jack.
Oh, look at that. One of the cops was actually bothered to show up. No need, SWAT's got it covered.
What is the situation?
Vultures came up with the great idea of robbing the OCP bank. They've got hostages, and they claim there's a bomb. They must be crazy to think that OCP will just let them leave with their money.
Was there any sighting of Spike?
Not yet. But I'm sure they wouldn't pull such a stunt without their leader.
What is the plan?
Let me make this clear. It's SWAT's plan. You're no part of it.
Then you are going to need a new plan.
With this buggy brain of yours, you think you still remember how to put the heat on them scumbags?
I prefer to serve justice cold.
Contact! Contact! Let's show our metal friend how it's done, boys.
Put down your weapon.
Find a way to get past it. Try finding the weakest spot in the wall around the gate and breach through.
Come on, boys. I'm on it. Let's finish up here and show them what it means to be a team player. Don't act like you're all that impressive. With all that fancy tech, a brick would know how to shoot.
Robocop, I've received information that the bank manager is held hostage in the vault.
Where exactly is it?
Find the manager's office, and we'll go from there. It's at the far end of the office area.
Your presence here is unauthorized.
So is depriving thousands of people of a roof over their heads. But OCP doesn't seem to mind that.
Explain.
Delta City. A heaven on earth that OCP plans to build in place of old Detroit? A city of the future where there is no crime or poverty. Do you believe the commercials?
I am working on the no crime part.
Then OCP may become the object of your attention soon. In order to create Delta City, OCP must first get rid of people who live in old Detroit. Now that's a topic I'd rather do a story on than you glitching. OCP offered these people investment in the project. The value of their property would cover the cost of entering the business. The later gains will far outweigh the cost, supposedly.
You do not believe that?
It's OCP. There must be a catch, and I think I found it. The documents say something about additional costs. I believe that's a loophole that OCP placed in order to scam people out of their homes.
That is only suspicion.
And I need time to prove that my suspicion is true. Time and some of these documents I found. If you detain me, the SWAT jerks will requisition them.
You can go, but if you continue to disobey the law, you will be detained.
Maybe I should have treated you more like a police officer than OCP's property. Anyway, the city owes you. And I owe you too.
I can see you've reached the manager's office. Great. Now look for a switch that unlocks the doors that lead to the vault. If I was a bank manager, I would probably ask for that switch to be installed somewhere around my desk. Now, take the doors behind the desk and turn left. The way to the vault should be open now.
I will not contribute to depriving my grateful employer of his hard-earned savings. We're opening this vault with or without your help, you old nutjob.
RoboCop! I knew our founder would send his best.
We're not done yet.
Mr. Becker, you're still alive.
I only played dead, so I didn't end up like you, with a bomb strapped to my body.
RoboCop, you have to defuse it. The explosion could cause the company enormous losses.
I need the support of a combat engineer.
I saw that Orpheus kid playing puzzle games on his breaks. Ask him for help. I'll be watching you. From a safe distance.
Officer Washington, I am looking at a ticking bomb.
A bomb? Okay, I'm passing you through to the bomb squad.
There is no time. I will need your help to defuse it.
Gosh, I mean, I'll do my best, but just give me a moment. First aid, kidnapping...
Are you looking for a bomb defusing chapter in the police manual?
Found it. First rule, call qualified personnel. Oh, no. Okay, tell me what you see.
Four connectors with different voltage.
What's the highest voltage?
24 volts. It is a C4 explosive and seems to be homemade.
Yeah, that's what I'd expect from the street vultures.
4 cables, green, 2 reds, and blue.
4 cables? Got it.
Cables lead to the fuse.
Does the fuse appear to be electronic?
Affirmative.
Okay, so they used this kind of bomb before. According to the diagram, you should detach 3 cables. Start from the one with the highest voltage, then proceed down one at a time to the one with the lowest voltage.
There are 2 different color 12-volt cables. Which one do I detach first?
Okay, maybe this isn't the time, but I'm colorblind.
I will have to improvise.
Just remember, detach the one with the highest voltage first, then proceed down to the lowest voltage.
It was just a minor incident. Ready to get back to business? 'Cause I need to make a withdrawal. Like, now.
Well, I should really check upstairs.
Nonsense. This is OCP. Money comes first. Now, open the vault.
There you go, sir.
Great. Now out of my way. What the hell is this? Where is all the money?
Our founder has most of our capital tied up in a very ambitious and resource-heavy project.
I can't believe old man's blowing all of OCP's money on Delta City.
Have some respect, young man.
Things are closing in. Are you already in the tunnels? If you're not back with the money in the next 2 minutes, we're leaving.
You should be proud to work for such a great man.
At this rate, soon there might be no one left to work for him. See what I'm talking about?
I have followed them into a tunnel.
So that's how they must have gotten here in the first place. It seems they're retreating into the old industrial area. That must be where they've hidden their getaway vehicle. You gotta hurry. There's a deserted warehouse nearby. It's the only building which the area, and it's big enough to store their vehicle. It's your best bet to proceed there.
Roger that.
How many lies would you tell? How many enemies would you face? How many battles would you endure? How many victories? How many failures? How many broken hearts? How many atrocities? How many lies would you tell? To be human.
It's the biggest video game convention in the universe, and IGN will be there live from Cologne, Germany.
Welcome back to IGN Live at Gamescom.
Expect some of the biggest game reveals and announcements of the year.
Tons of world premieres.
Never before seen looks at the most anticipated games like Starfield and Lies of P, as well as exclusive gameplay deep dives.
This seems crazy ambitious.
And tons more.
And we're going to be here all week on the show floor.
So cool.
IGN Live at Gamescom kicks off August 22nd. Don't miss a second of it.
Cuteness Overload am Tag 2 der Gamescom 2023. Ich fasse es nicht. Neben mir die süßesten Gestalten hier am Xbox-Booth. Wir werden gleich kuscheln, aber erstmal, wir haben super viel vorbereitet für den zweiten Tag. Wir haben Alan Wake 2, wir haben Cyberpunk 2077, wir haben ESO, wir haben das verrückteste Event, auf dem ich jemals war. Auf einem Kran habe ich Cities Skylines 2 gespielt und ja, ich weiß nicht, ich hatte noch nie so viel Angst, aber ihr solltet auf jeden Fall dranbleiben. Schaut euch das alles an, schaut in den Stream rein. Der Tag geht jetzt los.
Einen wunderschönen guten Morgen und herzlich willkommen zum Gamescom Donnerstag hier aus dem Gamescom Studio 2023, live von der Gamescom in Köln. Heute ist der erste Besuchertag, ihr seht es vielleicht auch schon im Hintergrund, wuseln schon ganz viele Menschen rum und wollen gespannt Spiele ausprobieren und Leute treffen. Wir haben natürlich auch was vorbereitet hier für euch. Manu und ich sind hier für euch zusammen im Studio und wollen euch ein bisschen was erzählen, um euch so ein bisschen sanft in diesen Tag einzuführen. Hallo Manu.
Hi, schönen guten Morgen. Auch an euch alle ZuschauerInnen da draußen. Ich freue mich sehr heute auf diesen zweiten Tag. Es ist, wie du schon gesagt hast, deutlich voller. Ja. Aber wir haben ja gestern auch schon unsere Hände an Spiele legen dürfen und haben gedacht, wir führen euch jetzt ein bisschen in unsere Erlebnisse ein zu Spielen, die ihr heute auch nochmal ausführlicher sehen werdet, aber so unsere eigenen direkten Eindrücke.
Ja, möchtest du eigentlich direkt mal starten dann mit Wukong?
Wukong, Black Myth, Wukong ist der komplette Titel. Habt ihr auf der Opening Night Live, glaube ich, auch schon gesehen. Hatten wir da ja auch schon kurz drüber gesprochen. Und ich habe mir da gestern noch einen Demo-Termin geben lassen. Selbst da war die Wartezeit schon eine Stunde. Also gestern war ja auch schon Fachbesuchertag und Wildcards waren nachmittags auch schon da. Ich glaube, es wurde Nachmittag noch länger. Also ein sehr begehrtes Spiel. Am Stand selber auch irgendwie 40 Spielestationen, an denen man dann eine sehr ausführliche Demo spielen kann. Also wenn man alles spielt, was diese Demo bereithält, dann hat man da locker 45 Minuten zu tun. Deswegen auch ein bisschen Wartezeit. Das ist das Spiel von Game Science, bei dem man in einer chinesischen Folklore unterwegs ist. Das sind diese Samurai-Tiere, die dann eben in einer Art Souls-Game auch gegeneinander antreten. Ich war ja gestern bei der Opening Night Live-Diskussion noch unsicher, wie viel Souls steckt da wirklich drin. Und ja, es ist genau diese Art von Spiel. Wenn ihr also auf Spiele des Souls-Universums sozusagen steht und auf diese Formel, dann ist Black Myth Wukong auf jeden Fall euer Ding. Wir hatten 3 Bosse in dieser Demo,
Wow,
die man
was?
ausprobieren.
3?
3 Stück, die du dann direkt anspielen konntest. Es spricht also auch fürs Spiel, dass da sehr viel Content drin ist, wenn sie hier auf der Gamescom-Demo schon 3 Bosse dich spielen lassen. Und der 4. Teil des Levels war dann so ein offener Bereich, wo man rumlaufen konnte, Kräuter sammeln konnte und dann diese klassischen Bonfires sozusagen. Ich weiß nicht, wie sie hier heißen. Das sind so kleine Tempel, an denen man ein Weihrauchstäbchen ansetzt und auch da klassisch, man heilt wieder, man kann neue Zaubersprüche anlegen und eben die Feinde spawnen wieder.
Spielt man denn so einen fest generierten Charakter oder kann man dann selber einen erstellen?
Nee, man spielt diesen Affen, den man aus diesem Trailer kannte. Also diesen Affenkämpfer, der diese Haare auch im Gesicht hat, so ähnlich wie ich.
Passt gut.
Ein bisschen behaarter Krieger, genau. Und die Bosse, der eine von denen war auch den wir im Trailer gesehen haben. Du erinnerst dich an diesen Tiger, der in diesem Blut trinkt und dann so diese blutverschmierten Barthärchen hat. Der war ganz schön tough. Den ersten Boss habe ich geschafft. Ich habe mir jetzt nicht die Zeit genommen, alle Bosse zu erledigen. Ja. Beim zweiten war man in einem Schneegebiet unterwegs. Wunderschöne Grafik, also wirklich beeindruckende Grafik auch in diesem Spiel. Und ich hatte sofort Lust. Also ich wollte gar nicht weggehen. Ich habe dann auch mich zügeln müssen, jetzt nicht den Boss nochmal zu versuchen. Aber genau dieses typische, was ein Souls-Game in dir weckt. Ich will diesen Boss schaffen und ich bin kurz davor. Das war auf jeden Fall wieder geweckt.
Cool. Dann habe ich mir tatsächlich noch was angeguckt. Und zwar habe ich die Gamescom direkt wieder verlassen einfach. Ich bin einfach direkt wieder gegangen und habe mir Alan Wake 2 für euch alle angeguckt. Das hat in so einem kleinen Kino stattgefunden. Das war richtig süß, so richtig nischig. Und dann saßen wir in diesem kleinen Kinosaal und dann haben sie uns tatsächlich eine komplette Mission gezeigt. Der erste Teil war quasi so ein Ausschnitt aus diesem Dark Place, wo sich Alan ja befindet. Und er nimmt an so einer Talkshow teil. Und rafft aber gar nicht natürlich, was da um ihn rum passiert und worum es da geht. Und da wird halt irgendwie schon sehr viel mit Meta rumgeschmissen. Und hier, du hast dein neues Buch geschrieben, Initiation heißt es, so heißt halt auch das Kapitel dann. Ja. Und die Band, die man sieht, ist auch wieder hier Old Gods of Asgard, die auch im ersten Alan Wake Teil quasi...
die sind quasi Studiogast als Band im Studio.
Die sind die Studio, genau, das ist die Studioband, genau. Also da sind sehr viele Sachen, die ihr aus dem ersten Teil auf jeden Fall kennt, kommen wieder. Genau das gleiche dann bei diesem 40 Minuten reinem Gameplay aus Alan Wakes Dark Place. Hat in New York gespielt. Eine sehr düstere Version von New York und es ist dann so, dass du mit Licht quasi, wie auch schon im ersten Teil, dir deinen Weg bahnen musst und kannst dann auch verschiedene neue Wege freischalten, indem du einfach mehr Licht aktivierst und hast dann zum Beispiel auf einmal einen U-Bahn-Schacht und kannst dann da runter. Und das Coole ist, du findest dann dort überall sogenannte Echos. Also das sind so, Visionen, also sie sehen aus wie Visionen, die dich quasi dann als Schriftsteller, der er ja ist, inspirieren, einen neuen Aspekt dazu zu schreiben. Dann gehst du in deinen Writers Room, dann drückst du halt eine Taste und gehst in den Writers Room und hast dann so ein Storyboard, wo du dann selber rausfinden musst, wo kommt dieser Teil, den ich jetzt in diesem Echo gesehen habe, denn eigentlich hin? Und wenn du das zusammensetzt, öffnet sich quasi der neue Weg, den du dann weitergehen kannst.
Cool, faszinierend. Also sie haben diese Art wieder total eingebaut, spielerisch, dass er ein Schriftsteller ist und eben diese Vision im Kopf sich dann auch materialisiert.
Ja, total.
Was mich noch interessieren würde, wie war denn der Übergang zwischen dem echten Schauspieler und dem digitalen Alan Wake sozusagen?
Das hat man gar nicht richtig gesehen. Also die haben das separat voneinander gezeigt quasi. Ja. Also wir sind dann mitten in diese Demo eingestiegen, direkt wo Alan dann schon durch New York läuft und davor war halt nochmal abgekapselt davon ein einzelnes Video von dieser Talkshow. Also das hat man leider nicht gesehen, aber
der Immersionsbruch war jetzt nicht so groß. Also man kennt den Schauspieler auch sofort wieder und so.
Genau, und ich meinte auch dann gestern noch zu den Herrschaften dort vor Ort, dass ich finde, dass es lustig ist, dass er aussieht wie so ein völlig konfuser John Wick mittlerweile, weil er so lange Haare hat.
Ich habe das auch die ganze Zeit gedacht. Ja. Ich habe auch gedacht, wahrscheinlich haben sie versucht, Johnny Depp zu kriegen, aber der Alan Wake war ja schon besetzt, der Schauspieler.
Ja, natürlich. Ja.
Aber ich musste auch sofort an ihn irgendwie denken, so dieses leicht verplante, diese Haare und so.
Ja, absolut. Und dann, Cameos gab es auch. Also es gab...
Johnny Depp, was sage ich denn?
Johnny Depp, du meinst Keanu Reeves?
Keanu Reeves, Entschuldigung.
Ja. es gab Cameos auch und da sieht man halt, wie die halt natürlich auch alle ihre Spiele vernetzen. Control wird eine Rolle spielen, der erste Teil, aber auch hier, ich vergesse immer, wie es heißt. Wow, ich vergesse wirklich immer, wie es heißt. Ich habe es mir aufgeschrieben. Das Xbox-Spiel, Quantum Break, natürlich,
Quantum Break,
so
natürlich.
heißt es. Der Sean Ashton, der da ja die Hauptrolle gespielt hat, den hat man auch gesehen in diesem 40-Minuten-Ding. Und die Schattenwesen hat man auch natürlich wieder gesehen aus dem ersten Teil. Also da war eine Menge Info drin, einfach vollgepackt und es sieht auch einfach unfassbar gut aus. Es ist wirklich eine Spur auch gruseliger als der Vorgänger, aber ich finde, das ist auch der legitime Step Forward sozusagen. Ja, das waren meine Erfahrungen gestern.
Cool, also ich habe richtig Bock drauf. Ich habe Bock auf beide Spiele.
Ja.
Black Myth Wukong ein bisschen mehr das, was man wahrscheinlich auch erwartet. Alan Wake 2 sicherlich auch das, was man will, aber noch eine Schippe drauf, weil Remedy will sich, glaube ich, auch selber übertreffen und einen richtigen Epos da schaffen. Genau, also beide Spiele hier auf der Gamescom. Wir haben noch ein bisschen mehr Infos zu Alan Wake gleich.
Ja, genau. Im Anschluss kommt direkt ein Interview, das ich heute führen durfte mit Sam Lake. Den kennt ihr wahrscheinlich alle vom Remedy Studio, das berühmte Max Payne-Gesicht quasi. Der hat sich mit mir hingesetzt und natürlich ein bisschen was zu Alan Wake erzählt. Also einfach dranbleiben, jetzt sofort im Anschluss. Viel Spaß damit. Hey, hallo und willkommen zurück hier im Gamescom-Studio auf der Gamescom 2023. Ein neuer Tag ist angebrochen. Ich bin froh, wieder hier für euch da zu sein und ich habe direkt einen Gast bei mir, auf den wir alle schon sehr sehnsüchtig gewartet haben. Bei mir ist jetzt der Creative Director von Alan Wake 2, Sam Lake. Hi.
Hello.
Nice to have you here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to know, greetings to the Finnish team. I hope they're all good.
Yeah, they are still back home working hard on getting everything ready.
Are you guys excited though?
Of course. Yeah. It's been a long journey.
Yes.
And it's excellent and it's nerve-wracking to be at this stage. There is always a lot of fixes that need to go in, but also it's wonderful to be able to show the game and talk about it. Yeah.
Yes, that's why you're here right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's actually talk about this. You revealed a new trailer at the ONL, and we all saw a place called the Dark Place.
Yes.
Can you tell us about what this place is? I got that Alan is trapped there, right?
Yep. Yeah. Alan Wake ended up being trapped in the Dark Place at the end of the first game.
Right.
And we are progressing in real time with our fictional universe. So he has been there for 13 years.
Wow.
And the Dark Place is this nightmare dimension, dream reality, and it keeps drawing from his head. Sure. So his thoughts, his fears, everything kind of reflected back out and around him, taking shape. He's been trying to write a story that would change the reality around him so that he could escape. But for 13 years, he has failed.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, that must have been terrifying. Just sitting there, I can't get out. What am I going to do? So I saw something that looked like a talk show in there.
Yep.
Is that also something that he makes up in his mind, or how is this connected to the whole thing?
Well, he's trying to understand and he's trying to find out. There are certainly things that he feels are coming from him. He used to live in New York City, used to write crime fiction set in New York, so the Dark Place is New York, all the way to a New York set late night talk show where he finds himself as a celebrity guest promoting his books. And he's not certain whether that's from his subconscious mind or if there are some other elements and entities at play in this.
So, did you want to make sure that the game differs from the first one? Because I feel like this is much darker and much scarier than before. I mean, we're all afraid of the dark, right? And it was terrifying in the first game to just have a flashlight and walk around. And now I feel like it's terror. So what happened there?
13 years.
Yeah,
a lot of frustrations.
Yeah.
Like we felt the first Alan Wake was very much an action-adventure game.
Sure.
It had horror elements in it, but the gameplay was action-adventure. And we just felt that we were looking for a game genre that would marry the gameplay with the storytelling even more closely than ever before in a Remedy game. And also, what criticism that we got from the first game was that there was too much of the same thing, the same kind of the combat loop just kind of went on and on and on.
Yeah.
So we wanted to change these things, and then we realized that, well, a horror game where the pacing is slower and you have more room for storytelling elements and gameplay related to story, and also like less combat but very intense combat when it happens, and strategical elements like resource management and all coming into the play. And when we just had this realization, like, why won't we make this a proper survival horror game? Then everything started clicking into place.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Once the idea is out there, then it starts rolling and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, I can't wait to check that out for sure. So I was thinking about that you're the creative director and you also come up with all this stuff, right? How? I mean, yeah, you got 13 years in between to think about it, right? But what does the process look like for you?
It's always teamwork. Like a wonderful, wonderful team of really, really talented professionals coming together and thinking about it. This always has felt like a very personal project to me, because trying to make it happen for years and thinking about it for years, but also then collaborating with other team members and figuring out the details. It starts with the high level. It starts with the story very much, and then working our way into the mechanics and details from that.
So there's probably a lot of dialogue in between the team about how.
A lot of brainstorming, lot of workshopping, a lot of back and forth.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
I really think that sounds great. So last, I would like to know how the community feels about Alan Wake 2. Did you get good responses, or were there even people like, this is too scary now?
Yeah, I've seen, one or two worries coming out, like I loved Alan Wake, but I'm not I'm afraid of horror games.
Sure.
For sure we will have different difficulty settings. Like if it feels too challenging.
That's nice.
And yes, it is disturbing. It is horror. But at the same time, for me, it always feels that a game is such a large thing that it shouldn't be one note.
Yeah.
There is room for all kinds of elements there. So for sure, there is a lot of comedy, a lot of humor in it as well. The idyllic, quirky, small town of Bright Falls with these big, larger-than-life personalities, quirky characters coming in, and so we give you release from the tension and the horror also, and you get to experience the small town and even in the dark place, even if it keeps on being very dreamlike and crazy. For sure, there are moments that are not just all-out horror.
All right, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you.
And have fun at Gamescom.
Thank you.
Ja, Leute, ihr habt's gehört. Das war Sam Lake hier bei uns. Ich hoffe, ihr bleibt dran, denn wir sind jetzt bei Monster Hunter Now unterwegs und da ist die gute Leonie am Start. Viel Spaß!
Ich habe mich hier direkt nach draußen verirrt ins Habitat von Monster Hunter Now. Das findet ihr hinter Halle 8 und zwar draußen und das hat einen sehr spezifischen Grund und darüber reden wir jetzt mal eine Runde. Hello and yeah, thank you for allowing us into your booth. Can you tell us what is going on here and what can the fans expect when they go out into the habitat?
Well, thank you for visiting our booth. This is our Monster Hunter Now area. We have a couple of different ecological areas within here. You're in the forest right now, which is one of the areas that you see in the game, and we also have the desert area as well. And so people can come here, chill out, play the game a little bit. There's also an AR experience photo spot as well. So yeah, we welcome as many people as possible.
So Monster Hunter is really like famous with their fans. Like people who play the game are really like into it still today playing it, and like this is a mobile version of it. So like you can even when you're leaving your cozy apartment, you can hunt monsters. How does that work?
Yes, so Monster Hunter is of course a huge franchise. It's been around for 19 years, massive fan base around the world, and it's a pretty difficult game, as you probably know. When you're trying to hunt a strong monster, maybe it takes 30 minutes, maybe even more, but we've tried to distill all of the core elements of the game into this mobile experience, and it's a geolocation based game. So you basically see yourself a hunter in a location that's based on your geolocation currently, and you can move around through your surroundings, and you will move in the game as well. As you do so, you'll encounter different monsters, whether it's great jagras or kuliak, and you can try to hunt them with different weapons.
Okay, also das Game ist mit Geolocation, das heißt, egal wo ihr seid, überall werdet ihr Monster treffen. Ihr müsst einfach nur die App anmachen, einmal durchlaufen, das ganze Ding abscannen, gucken, was die Monster so für Affinitäten haben und dann könnt ihr die dort direkt vor Ort besiegen. Are there any monsters around, like currently, except for like us?
Let's check it out. It looks like we've got a couple of different monsters. You've got a Tobikadachi, right, which is an electric monster, and its weakness is water or poison. So I have a weapon that is water, and so I'm going to use that. Shall we try to hunt it? Okay, so I'm going to go hunt, and I can use the long sword, which is a really cool weapon, do some special attacks as well, and Tobikadachi flies around, so you got to be careful. You need to flick to evade. And I'm gonna go for a special attack. Look at that, a jump move.
He's critting.
Hey, look at that. And you can break the different body parts of the monster, which you will then collect to forge new weapons and up-level your weapons and so on. So that's quite exciting. And that's a quick hunt. Each hunt is limited to 75 seconds. So as opposed to the 30 minutes, 40 minutes that you're used to spending on Monster Hunter, this is a very condensed version. But as you saw, you have different moves you can make with just one finger. Tap, 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 flick, hold, and so on. So there's quite an exciting hunting action.
Okay, also es gibt verschiedene Moves natürlich, die ihr machen könnt. Ihr könnt dodgen, ihr könnt eure Waffen equippen, ihr könnt Affinities von den Monstern rausfinden und vor allem könnt ihr die dann bekämpfen. Und das alles in ungefähr unter einer Minute, damit ihr natürlich nicht irgendwo am Straßenrand steht und da den ganzen Verkehr behindert. So wie ich jetzt gleich, weil ich probiere das jetzt mal aus. Wir sind hier im Businessbereich der Gamescom und ich warte auf Mike Minola, den Creator von diesem lustigen roten Giganten hier, nämlich Hellboy. Ja, richtig, er hat Hellboy erfunden und die Comics gezeichnet und da bin ich schon ein bisschen aufgeregt. Der hat jetzt zusammen mit Patrick Martin ein Spiel entworfen. Der ist der Art Director von Hellboy. Web of Word. Und was die dazu zu sagen haben und was ihre Eindrücke zum Spiel sind, das gucken wir uns jetzt mal an. ihr Lieben, ich sitze hier mit Mike Mignola und Patrick Martin, der Creator von Hellboy und der Art Director von Hellboy Web of Word. Und wir haben uns hier ein paar kleine Fragen überlegt und wir sind natürlich unfassbar froh, dass ihr hier seid und sehr verwirrt guckt, weil ich so viel Deutsch rede. Hello, you guys. Thank you for having us. So yeah, let's talk a bit about Hellboy Web of Word. So first of all, it's very important that this is how we pronounce it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the Web of Word. I've had to learn that pronunciation as well. I think it's possibly American pronunciation. Is that right?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's perfect. Well, I mean, I guess now we can be certain. So about that. So this is obviously all of the artwork that has been put into a video game. Like, how are we feeling about this? Like, is it something in the process that was where you were involved and that you were excited about?
Well, I wasn't involved in the development. I was very excited when I saw it because I usually hate when people try to imitate my work. But it was very clear as soon as I saw what these guys were doing that they had taken the time to analyze not just what I do, but why I do it. So it works. So I was very excited.
So counter question. Yes. Do you agree? Have you put in a lot of work to make it seem exactly like the drawings?
Very much so. Yeah, there's obviously a challenge converting 2D to 3D, and Mike gets to use pens and pencils to draw his lines, and we're trying to do something similar with polygons and vertices, and also the work that he does with shadows, we're trying to convey with real-time shadows as well. So yeah, big challenge. But we spent a lot of time iterating, and we. All taking notes, making sure that silhouettes were correct, and we had a long discussion about tail lengths. There's lots of exciting things to try and work out, but we're really proud of how he looks.
Is there something like I imagine when you reimagine an artist's work, like you really have to like dive deep into the different aspects of it. Was there something where you were like surprised, or like where you were like, why is he drawing it like this? This is a like this is so hard to animate, right?
There's lovely discoveries you make because we read the comics before, enjoying the story and enjoying the moments. But when you get into an analytical stage, you kind of start to draw comparisons not just through what's going on sequentially, but you look at previous issues of things, or Mike's got work that he's been doing over 30 years. So you look at something he's done sort of 5 years ago versus 15 years ago, and say, well, what's happening there? So there's lots to compare and contrast and try and understand. But and it's satisfying where you make those discoveries. For example, human characters' eyes are often in shadow, but during close-ups, you sometimes see the pupil of the eyes, and it's like, all right, let's capture that in a cutscene. We'll do a quick cut, and now focusing on the character, and you see those pupils, things like that.
Okay, so you don't like drawing pupils?
No, I've never. I don't. There's a lot of stuff I don't like to draw, and fortunately, because I completely control what I do, I cheat a lot. That's the thing. I've never had to be consistent with things like how somebody's eyes are, or where certain things are on their head, or how long the tail is. I get to just kind of cheat all the time, which these guys unfortunately had to figure out what really goes on when a character turns at a particular angle. I can always cheat those things.
All right, so last topic is about the gameplay. So this is a dungeon crawler, or like a roguelike.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, there's elements of that. It's a brawler as well. It's predominantly a brawler, I would say, with some roguelike elements. So it's all about smashing up some heavy characters, exploring mysterious worlds that regenerates and changes its path many times over, and also taking things that you find, artifacts and things that you find in that world, and bringing it back to the real world to discuss with the BPRD members and learn more about what you're doing.
And why did you choose this format instead of another one?
So one of the reasons was we can't have Hellboy die. So, and that is quite a common staple in games. So we had to come up with a scenario. One of the things we had to come up with was a scenario in which allowed him to be defeated, but also have another go. Also, something we're really fond of with the comics is that the exploration that Hellboy goes through, and we wanted the player to have that feeling of exploring all the time. They never get too comfortable where they are. There's a new surprise around every corner.
All right, and last question, have you played it yet, and what were your impressions?
I have not. I've actually never played a game. Well,
welcome to Gamescom.
Yeah, it's a whole world that I know almost nothing about. I don't know that I will play it. I like looking at it, and I hope other people who play games really enjoy it. But for me, it's just one more very strange thing I never expected to see Hellboy involved in. So I'm just thrilled to see it look so good, and judging by the response from other people who actually do know games, they seem very happy. So if they're happy, I'm happy.
And it shows that your character just works in different formats and settings, so that's really good.
Very nice for paying the bills.
So, what are we dealing with here?
4 psychic spikes measured at over 180 BPUs. Italy, Russia, Scotland, and the US. Your job is to find robots and investigate possible links between this location and the spikes before they cause any further repercussions.
Die Zusammenarbeit der beiden lief anscheinend ziemlich gut. Da sie gemeinsam den Charakter entwickelt und animiert haben, sind ihm natürlich auch ein paar Sachen aufgefallen, die beim Zeichnen eben nicht auffällt. Zum Beispiel ist es Mike Mignola egal, wie lang jetzt der Schwanz von Hellboy ist oder ob das wirklich alles grafisch richtig ist, solange es cool aussieht im Bild. In einem Videospiel ist das natürlich anders, egal wie sehr man sich an die Comic-Verfilmung halten möchte. Wir sind auf jeden Fall super gespannt. Hellboy sieht aus wie ein Roguelike-Spiel, das echt schon Bock macht. Ich meine, die Ästhetik ist was einen an die Comics erinnert und nostalgisch macht. Ich selber habe die jetzt nie gelesen, aber ich mag eben solche Spiele wie Hades oder eben so Spiele, in denen man weiterhin progressen kann. Und deswegen gucke ich mir das Ganze mal genauer an.
Welcome back, everyone, and I'm here with Matt Fireup, president of ZeniMax Online Studios, and it's the time of the year again where we talk about, I already said it, we talk about the same game, and usually that's something very boring to say, but in the case of the Elder Scrolls Online, it means there's something new.
Yes.
And with Necrom, you're introducing a new class.
Yep.
How is that changing the environment and the art style that people use the game?
Yeah, so, every summer we introduce a new chapter to ESO, and it's called Necrom this year, and it just launched a month ago. And we have a new class called the Arcanist in the chapter, and it's a little different. Like you said, it's artistically and color-wise and audio, it feels really cool. It has a couple of different mechanics that are a little deeper than some of the other classes. So, but we made it fun. So it's good for new players, but it's also good for veteran players because we wanted to make sure that we provided content to both groups. So it's really cool. It's been very well received. Almost every player in the game has rolled an Arcanist, and some of them are already playing them to max level.
Yeah. And you just mentioned a very important point, which is the new players coming into the game with this expansion, and people that have been playing for years already. How do you manage to bridge that gap between old content and new content when there's a world that is constantly evolving and changing?
Yeah, and this is one of the secrets of ESO's success, is that we don't really have levels in the game to separate players. Mm-hmm. So you can buy the game and immediately be playing Necrom. You don't have to catch up. There's no catch-up mechanic in the game. You just can play. And this means that you can group with people of any level, and it makes the game really easy to get into, but very deep for veteran players.
And when we come to the changes that come up with an update like that, there's certain tweaks and fixes and changes to the game. What are the biggest changes coming with this update?
Yeah, so the new update, which is coming right now, is so previous years we had 4 content updates a year. This year we're taking one of those updates and making it more about fixing some issues for players, making it easier for new players to get into the game, because after 9.5 years, there's a lot of quests in the game, and for new users, it's a little overwhelming when they get in the game and all the quest NPCs talk to you and run up to you and want you to do things.
Do me first, please.
Yeah, exactly.
My quests are more important.
Yeah, so those quests are still in the game, but now if you're below level 5 or below level 10, they just don't interact with you as much. So you can do the quests that we think are the best ones for new players to get into the game.
And you just mentioned it briefly. There's one thing that is very unique about the world of the Elder Scrolls. Dynamic events, they are crucial to MMOs. And could you delve into how Necrom enhances the world's living narrative?
How it has what?
Enhance.
Oh, yeah. Well, every chapter, we have world events that get players into the same space, and we call it soft grouping, and it's where a lot of people play ESO solo. That's great, no problem, but we have very, very powerful world bosses in Necrom that just kind of wander around the zone, and we've done this a few times before, and you need a group of people to take them down, but you don't need to group with the players. You can just go and at the same time start fighting this world boss and maybe meet some new friends or not and play solo or start grouping up with them. So.
And how does this, I mean, we're seeing gameplay right now, how does this add-on innovate the itemization system, like keeping players engaged and excited to explore and loot? Because as you just said, 9.5 years, maybe people have maxed out and they're like very happy with their setup, and you're now adding more stuff. What do you think will keep people motivating to loot even more?
Yeah, and not to get too deep into a GDC talk here, but ESO is a very broad game, right? Many old school MMOs are very vertical, so you have to be level 1 and go to level 50. ESO is not like that. It's basically you go into the game and you can do many things. So every year we try to add new, like last year we added a card game. The year before that we added companions, right? So things that you can interact with the game differently than just going on quests, right? So the fourth quarter this year, we're adding we're not talking about it much yet, but we're adding a feature called the Endless Archive, which is a very much veteran-based system that you can go and dedicate many, many, many hours to. That has great loot. It'll have great rewards, and much more information about that coming later.
Well, that's great news. Great news.
Yeah.
The German community is very vocal about their concerns, and when you scroll through the forums, they're very vocal about what they think should be changed or taken out of the game entirely. And before the Arcanist was introduced, they were kind of worried that it would be too strong. How do you address these player concerns?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, players that are concerned like that and take the time to write, they're usually the most invested, the best members of the community, right? So we always understand that they care. And so I think with the Arcanist, yes, they were worried about being too powerful, but now that everyone has played it, now the criticism is that it's too fun. It's not more powerful, but it's a lot of fun to play. So now there's some criticism of, let's go back and change some of the older classes to make them more fun. But when the game launched, right, in 2014, 2015, those classes were fun too, right? So it's just the natural evolution of the game.
And do you see a drop of other classes, people basically switching to the Arcanist and like abandoning what they played before?
Well, almost every player who has played the game since it launched that has Necrom has created an Arcanist. Many of them are max level now, but most people jump in, have fun with it, maybe make it a second character or a third character. But yeah, there are a lot. When you go into Necrom, you see a lot of Arcanists running around the zone.
As the game world expands, and we always keep coming back to the fact that it's 9.5 years old, how does ZeniMax basically manage potential technical challenges that are well ahead at some point they face just the expansion being too big?
Great question, because last year we had a very big problem where we were running out of memory on the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 because those machines came out in 2013, right? So we've done a lot of work on memory management to make the game smaller footprint, so it still runs on those machines. And at the time, we didn't think the Arcanist would work on those machines because a lot of new animations, a lot of new effects. But we did some good work. We changed the way our memory management works, and it bought us at least another few years on those devices. We're always doing things like that behind the scenes.
Yeah, very good, very good. Yeah. Okay, finally, Matt. since it's already out, what is your personal favorite feature of the new expansion?
I love Elder Scrolls stories. Right, that's just, everybody likes Elder Scrolls for different things, but I like Elder Scrolls for stories, no matter Morrowind, Skyrim, right, or Elder Scrolls Online. So the story in Necrom is really good, and I'm not going to spoil it, but the story continues after this chapter. So there's a multi-year story arc, and it's really, really good, and I love it.
So I expect you to have this conversation with me again next year.
Next year, and I'll still say no spoilers. Yeah.
Very good, very good. Very well, thank you very much for being here. And guys, you stay tuned. The Elder Scrolls Online Necrom is out now, and you can play it. You can even have it, you can check it out here at Gamescom. And for everyone online, please stay tuned. We have Phil Spencer coming up, who had a very nice conversation with our folks from IGN US. Stay tuned.
Being in charge of an entire video game ecosystem is a busy job, but our next guest took time from his busy schedule to pay us a visit. Joining us here on Gamescom Studio, the head of Xbox himself, Phil Spencer.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. It's good to have you here on the set to talk about Xbox.
It's awesome to be here at Gamescom. I haven't been since 2017.
Really?
So yeah, were you here last year?
Nope, I skipped last year.
I am just jazzed. It's so cool to see everybody, and it's fantastic to be at Gamescom. I guess the biggest consumer game show on the planet.
It's huge, yeah. You know what else was cool to see? That Starfield presentation that you and Todd introed a little bit ago.
It's all Todd.
Yeah.
I was there to intro Todd.
Yeah.
That's my job.
You were the setup guy.
I carry his bag and I intro him.
Starfield's a huge moment for Xbox, obviously. When is the last time Xbox has had a moment this big?
I think everything, every month, every time we're doing something that changes, hopefully enhances a customer's experience on Xbox is important. You think about big new IP that has launched on the platform. I might go back to Gears 1. I don't know, like a game that is brand new IP. It's Todd's first game in the BGS team as part of Xbox launching on the platform. It's a big moment, and I'm proud that we were able to give them time, and really, really happy with the results. You have a build,
yeah,
but you're not playing because you're working.
I don't know what I'm allowed to say about it, so I don't want to break embargo.
Have you booted it?
I have turned it on.
That's an embargo break.
Oh no! Well, I'm blacklisted now. Oh well, sorry, Todd. Baldur's Gate 3 is the talk of the town right now.
Great game.
You know, this RPG comes along, kind of takes the internet by storm. Do you think it's set expectations for Starfield, or did it steal a little bit of the thunder?
I don't think it has anything to do with Starfield. I mean, great games coming out, it's a good thing for the industry. First, congrats to Larian and the team. I think it's like, a 97 rated game or something. As somebody who finished the original Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate 2, and what was the expansion for Baldur's Gate 1, Forgotten Shores or something? I'm a huge Baldur's Gate fan, and to see a team spend the time to make, I think, a true next iteration of a classic gaming franchise is always just great for the industry.
Speaking of next iterations, Skyrim came out, 12 years ago, just did the anniversary edition, and it's been supported by an amazing modding community.
Yeah.
Has the same thought been put towards Starfield and supporting it into the future?
Absolutely, and I don't want to disclose what the team has been thinking about, but obviously when you're BGS and you've seen the legs and the support that Skyrim gets even today, right, when you look at what the modders have done, it went into the thinking about what Starfield should be, and proof will be out in terms of how people receive the game, but our hope is that it is another game that's around a decade plus longer, later after it launches, and people are still enjoying it.
I think the last time you were in the hot seat was over.
Is this the hot seat right now?
Yeah, the hot seat.
Okay.
Over here on IGN. But you were at our friends Kinda Funny and doing the XCast around the launch of Redfall.
Yeah.
Which, was obviously problematic at launch. Have any internal processes or procedures been changed to make sure that sort of reaction or issue doesn't arise again?
Well, we're always learning in everything we do, no doubt about that. I would say that, and I've shared some of this, but with Redfall, it was more of us not using our internal processes that were in place already, just because of when integration happened. I'm not using COVID as an excuse, but we did close the ZeniMax acquisition, and then everybody got sent home, and it was just not as easy as maybe some of the earlier companies, studios that we'd acquired in terms of integrating in our process. But that's all on us, so I'm not trying to deflect any of the criticism. But absolutely, anytime we launch anything, and we're going to learn from the launch of Starfield, we're going to learn from the launch of Forza, and we reevaluate our process, because we want to make sure we're exceeding customers' expectations with everything we do.
Yeah, I'm always sort of curious about that, like what causes that result? Like, is it the cert process? Is it like what wall is hit where that sort of stuff is missed? So I appreciate you being candid about it.
Yeah, and I'd say one of the things that was helpful for us with Starfield was our long working relationship with BGS, which you know well. Like, if you go back to original Xbox, like in what we've done with those teams. So the relationship between Todd, BGS, and our platform team was just stronger than it was with Harvey, not because of, and the team at Arcane, not because of anything other than just relationships. Like, we've just known them longer. So Todd brought in the team brought in the ATG group early to start working on Starfield, and that's on us. Like, we should have done that with Arcane. We should have helped them more in the development process, and also just made it clear that shipping a first-party game has a different level of expectation. That it's not always true that every team that comes into being part of a first party is aware of when it launches. Feel great about where we are with Starfield. We put out the review codes last week, so we're giving reviewers plenty of time to spend time with the game, and I think all of that's just a sign of the confidence that we have.
You tricked me into breaking embargo. Thanks.
That's right. That's right. You're done. No, we do really appreciate people playing and giving us feedback. Like, the build that you have, it's not actually the final build. So we're always taking feedback and refining back in, and this is an important part of the process. So thank you for at least loading the game.
Oh, I played like an hour, but I got I got an interview with Phil Spencer to plan for. Another game here, though, that we got to see BCD was Forza Motorsport.
Yes.
You're showing off the Italian track.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But big improvement graphically from what we saw at Summer of Gaming. I am curious, though, what are your thoughts on how Forza Motorsport sets itself apart?
I'll start with Turn 10. I think from the beginning of Turn 10, when that studio was formed, they've always been a technical showcase for us. A gentleman named Chris Tector is the tech architect for us there, and has just done a great job of getting everything out of the hardware. I'm a huge motorsport fan. I've been from the time we launched that, so I've been playing builds and seeing the progress that they've been making. And I think you're right. Like, graphically, where they are right now, it's stunning. The game, what they're doing with ray tracing and other things. But I always love that Turn 10 has been able to start with motorsport, expand to Horizon, which Forza Horizon's now kind of a top tier Xbox franchise. I think you can't argue about that. It's just like the number of players that game builds, and their relationship with Playground and what they're doing with Fable. I mean, it's just been awesome to see how Turn 10, a studio that was literally just kind of homegrown within Xbox, has turned into such a force for us.
Got any teases for Fable, seeing you brought it up?
I'll let the team. I was actually on Project Ego, the first Fable that we launched, which I find some humor in. The code name was Project Ego with all the personalities involved. But it's nice to see the team kind of embracing what was Fable, the humor, the kind of choice and consequence and everything. So really looking forward to showing more.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the trailer you showed also during the last reveal. But going back to Forza, you actually dropped the number. So is Forza Motorsport becoming a service platform, or like what's with the change?
Yeah, the team service platform, I hesitate a little bit because I think there's a lot of loadedness in
games,
like what that means. I think what we see with Forza is the evolution of the experience as much about the tech as it is tracks and cars. And we know that when people make an investment in the game, they want to make sure we continue to support the game. And in some ways, when you put a numeral on the end of the franchise, it instantly says, okay, well, now you need to move to like Forza N+1. And it's like, no, we want this to be a place that people feel like they can invest their time, they can invest their experience, and know that this is a place that we're going to be investing in Forza Motorsport for years to come.
You've had a ton of reveals. Avowed was revealed.
Yeah.
What else do I have on?
South of Midnight.
Perfect Dark, South of Midnight,
Yeah.
Hellblade, Hellblade 2, Senua's Sacrifice. Can you tell us more about the rest of 2023 and beyond, and sort of like what that's looking like for Xbox?
What I can say is we're going to have more beats to talk about more of what we do because the content lineup is so strong. And I say that completely recognizing that 2022 wasn't so strong. But we have our biggest booth here at Gamescom, and we have a huge presence. I think there's like 30 plus playable games on our floor, a lot of first party games. Towerborn's here, Ara's here, obviously Forza. So like it's awesome to see the footprint that we have in the game portfolio from our first party, from partners, from Game Pass, all of it. So I think what you're going to see from us, where maybe the last couple of years we've been more on an annual in terms of when we talk about our games around, I still call it E3, around the E3 timeframe. This year we did Developer Direct in January, we did our showcase. We're here in the biggest we've ever been at Gamescom, and you're going to see more regular times to talk about our games because the portfolio is deep enough that we can support that.
Matt Booty promised us 4.
Yeah.
Are you on track?
For this year?
Well, let's see specifically what he said. Yeah. 4
Hi-Fi.
first party per year.
We more than that this year. If we start with Hi-Fi, Minecraft Legends, Redfall. Maybe people don't want to give us credit for Redfall. I get it, but I understand. Start Age 4 console last night.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to play that. And then going into next year, absolutely. Like we have talked about it as an aspiration. Now we talk about it as our plan.
Okay, got it. Big news, everybody. I don't know if you heard. Final Fantasy XIV is finally coming to Xbox.
I got to go to the show. That
it was
awesome.
really cool.
Yeah.
I've been covering that story for like a decade. Like
Yeah.
since I started at IGN.
You've been a proponent for it.
Yeah, I've that community is so welcoming. It's an amazing
Awesome.
community.
Being there at the Final Fantasy Fan Fest thing was awesome. The first time I'd ever been. It's just incredible.
And they're stoked about it coming to Xbox.
And so is Yoshi, which is great.
Yeah. Now you hinted that other games.
Did I hint, or was it the CEO of Square that?
The CEO of Square.
Okay, I just want to make sure who was clear on who was hinting.
So where's Final Fantasy VII? Are we going to get 16? What does that mean?
I recognize that when people buy an Xbox, they want to make sure the great games that they want to play are coming. And if there's any publisher out there where that hasn't been true, Square is one of the top profiles. So, like Sarah Bond and I know, fly to Tokyo, have conversations, and we've spent a lot of time with Square. There's obviously business deals and relationships that will have to get worked through on certain games, but I'll say it was really great to have the CEO of Square and Yoshi there to just talk about their commitment to Xbox, because I can say I'm the head of Xbox, blah blah blah, but having the CEO of one of the third parties make a commitment to the platform, I thought was a really meaningful step. So you'll hear more. I'm not going to push them; they're going to have to find their own rhythm. But having him make a commitment to Xbox was really important, both to me, and I've heard it from the community to the community as well. And 14 was more of a commitment.
Xbox has their biggest booth ever at Gamescom this year, and we're thrilled to have Phil Spencer with us to talk about some of their exciting partnerships and to answer some of the tough questions fans have been curious about. Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Spencer right here with me. How are you doing?
Awesome. I'm looking at all the people. This is such a cool setup because all the people on the Gamescom floor are right there. It's cool. I appreciate you guys having a booth here on the floor. It's awesome.
So we're going to talk hardware services and such, but you just had this big announcement about some sort of CMA issue where you're partnering with Ubisoft. What does that mean for video games? Like if the Activision deal closes, can you just explain it to me? Because I don't get it.
Fundamentally, we are trying to bring more games to more people. And we think doing the deal with Ubisoft, which frees up one of the concerns at the CMA, which is the UK regulatory board where acquisitions get handled, will allow more games to go to more people. We've always thought we would do that as well, but Ubisoft's a good partner. We know them. They're independent from us, so we say any kind of concerns that we may dictate where the games go, hopefully is alleviated now. and allow us to continue to move forward in what we're working on with the deal. We still have work to do there, but we think it's a good step, bring more games to more people, which has been what this is about.
So if I want to play, is it just cloud streaming, or will it have an impact on Game Pass?
It is the rights that will go to Ubisoft when the deal closes are the cloud streaming rights for ABK games.
So Call of Duty, I can still boot that up on Game Pass potentially once the deal closes.
Yeah, on ABK, I'm going to a different answer now just because of the way you asked that. I want to make sure people know that there's work to actually move games to Game Pass. So for people who think like the deal's going to close
October 18th,
then everything's available to Game Pass. That's not true. And it hasn't been true in other acquisitions that we've done. Like there's work for us to go do, just mechanical work for us to go do. So it will take us time, definite time, to get the games in portfolio. But this has nothing to do with making native games available in Game Pass. This is all about the Ubisoft relationship, is all about the cloud streaming rights for ABK games.
Well, that
ABK being Activision Blizzard King. It's really Activision and Blizzard since they have the kind of pay-to-play games.
That makes me feel a lot better. Thanks, CMA, for making it super confusing. But anyway.
But let me say, it's in addition to other deals that we've done, right? Like GeForce and Boosteroid, Ubisoft, other deals. I think there's like some GeForce announcements going out now about our PC games starting to hit there. So if you're a GeForce Now subscriber and you're a Game Pass subscriber, you're starting to be able to stream the PC versions of those games, which I think is an awesome part of this as well. Getting more games to more people has been what this is about. Not taking games away from PlayStation. I know there's that's not what it is. We look at the success of Xbox as how many people are playing Xbox games, and that's important to us.
Yeah, I mean, if you took them off PlayStation, you would literally lose money.
That we would.
It's
never been in the plan. I mean, I've had to wear a suit and tie. People have like seen all that stuff.
We're not
there anymore.
You look very fancy. Let's talk Xbox Series X. So the console's 3 years old. Where are we at with the timeline of the console? Are we at the beginning? Are we in the middle?
I think we're kind of at the end of the beginning, like if that makes any sense. Okay. I think the kind of supply issues early on lengthened the beginning to some extent, both on cost as well as just availability. I think from a game dev standpoint, not just us, but third parties, you're really just now starting to see the swell of games that got slowed up through COVID production now starting to launch. I think we have like 85 games launching in the industry between now and like tomorrow, right? It seems like there's so many games coming right now that we're starting to get through the beginning of this generation and hopefully into a place where as an owner of a console, you've got games that are taking full advantage of the hardware and are great games for people to go play. And I look at the lineup over the rest of this year from third parties alone, and it's fantastic.
What's next for gaming hardware? Like, are better graphics still enough to differentiate?
I think better graphics, more realistic feel will always be important. I also love that different form factors are coming out. I thought what Valve did with the Steam Deck was awesome. I'm traveling with my ROG Ally when I'm here, having a great time playing games. I feel like it's a remote Xbox for me, right? I log in, my community's there, my games are there. All devs should support cross saves, so that's to you, Remnant 2 team. I'm playing a ton of Remnant 2, but I can't move to PC. But I just love the fact that I'm able to take my save games where I go and play. So I love that hardware is becoming more diverse, both in price point and in form factor and usability, so that more people are playing.
Do you have any news about some sort of mid-generation refresh for Xbox?
No. We're doing right now the increased storage on the Series S. The black one, yeah. That's what we actually call it, is the black.
Looks awesome.
Yeah, it does. It looks great. But no, like I said, we're kind of at the end of the beginning in my mind. So I think we need to let devs settle on this hardware and get the most out of it. But in terms of increased frame rate, increased resolution, I just look at what goes on PC with high-end GPUs, high-end CPUs. And it's not always just about pixel count or frame resolution. I think there's lighting techniques. There's a bunch of things that go into what makes a game look and feel great. And we have a ton of headroom as an industry there.
The Baldur's Gate 3 team brought up some issues with Xbox Series S and split screen, getting it to work properly. I know the Forza team announced that it won't launch with split screen, I believe.
Local split screen, yeah, split screen, yeah.
Local split screen. So
or even online split screen, yeah.
Is there some future where you allow developers just to launch on the Series X versus S? Because there's the parity clause right now, and I'm curious, will that ever be loosened up a bit?
I want to decouple these issues a little bit.
Yeah.
The decision to do split screen or not is a creative decision, a dev decision. So if we think about like Forza, it has nothing to do with any kind of hardware thing on S and X, just where they wanted to focus their time. We obviously see the data in terms of how many people play local co-op for games. I love local co-op. Shout out to Vampire Survivors that just launched it. Fantastic. But there's also just let's go where the play is in terms of where we're going to focus our dev resources. In terms of the two platforms, I want games to launch on both platforms. There are feature differences between the platforms. We have an ability to kind of handle that and how it works. Where teams are going to choose to focus their time and their effort is up to them. We're here to support them and what they want to go do. We want to make sure that games, when they're launching on competitive platforms, are also launching on Xbox. So we're going to learn from this experience as well, because we don't love that. But I don't think it's something that's like a fatal flaw in the system. It's partners prioritizing their time, us listening and being a good partner to them. And you see some amazing games doing great work across S and X. Diablo looks great, Starfield looks great, Forza looks great across both. And you know, we think, I want to make sure console gaming is accessible to more people, and we think the price point of the console is a pretty important part of that.
Yeah, I love the Series S, but there's been that conversation going around, so I wanted to ask you about it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair question. I will say that I think some of the discussion in the community has maybe not come from us or the devs. It's been more the community building, well, this happened, and then that happened, and then so it must be about this. And I think we can do more to add clarity to actually where we are, and I look forward to doing that.
So you threw like 300 devs out to Larian to help them get Baldur's Gate on Xbox?
It wasn't 300, but absolutely.
400, wow.
No, it's a great game. They're an important partner. I'm meeting with them here at Gamescom. Like it's a game I want to see on the platform, and we have resources that helped in terms of making sure it's going to sit. I think they've said it's going to ship by the end of the year. I think that's their words.
Yeah.
In terms of what they've said. But like we should together come up with clarity to set some expectations for Xbox fans, and I look forward to doing that.
Okay. I just really like that game, so I'm hoping I can play it on my console soon.
I do too. Yeah. Hopefully with cross save, so I can play my PC and my Xbox version back and forth.
Yeah, got it. So, what else do we have? Game Pass does seem to be a bit of a tough sell for a lot of executives, I guess you call them. Kotick was one of those people that testified to it being a tough sell for him to bring Call of Duty to Game Pass. After closing, how are you going to breach that sort of ideological difference between you both?
Well, there's a different person making the decisions. That's one thing. On Game Pass, it's not necessarily true that every game looks at Game Pass and says that's the opportunity for me. Like if you're a massively successful AAA franchise that has double-digit million marketing budget to go drive awareness and discovery of your game day one, and that's part of your model, I totally understand why you wouldn't window your game day one into a subscription. I got no issue with that. Like we do it as a first party for this because we're trying to grow the subscription and we're looking at the overall health of the subscription as an outcome. We love that. We see it grow on console, more growth on PC definitely now, which has been awesome, especially sitting here in Germany. We think about all the PC players here. But so I just got out actually of a roundtable with a bunch of indie develop leads, studio heads, and the subscription helps them. It helps them in terms of dev funding, certainty in what they can go build. Every game that's in Game Pass is available for sale, so we're not trying to turn the world into a subscription-only world, I promise. That's not our plan. And we think it's a great model for certain teams, and for other teams that decide it's not the right model for them ever or right now, that's also totally cool as well.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, I'm being told we're out of time.
Uh-oh.
I have a lot more great questions for you, but they'll have to wait. Thank you, Phil Spencer from Xbox, so much for joining us. We got to go. Coming up next, more video game news right here at Gamescom with IGN. Bye, everybody.
One Punch! Tatsächlich gibt es jetzt ein One-Punch-Man-Spiel. Wer hätte es gedacht? Ich meine, wenn man an alle Spiele denkt, die man machen könnte, dann ist vielleicht das, wo der Typ einfach alle Bösewichte mit nur einem Schlag besiegt, nicht das Erste, was einem einfallen würde. Und trotzdem hat Crunchyroll das gemacht. Es gibt jetzt ein Spiel von One Punch Man, nämlich One Punch Man World. Und wir gucken uns das Ganze jetzt mal an. Na komm, da geht noch was. Ah, also naja, immerhin mehr als die Hälfte, bin ich dabei. Okay, komm, einen haben wir noch. Okay, warte, halt mal.
Go, go, go.
Ui. Das war sogar schlechter als vorher.
Nochmal?
Ja, einen noch. Alle guten Dinge sind
Alle
drei.
guten Dinge sind 3. Komm, komm, komm. Ja, ist doch top.
Okay, also den Highscore haben wir noch nicht geknackt. Der liegt jetzt bisher, glaube ich, hier ungefähr. Aber da sind wir ganz knapp noch daneben. Also das wird heute noch im Laufe des Tages. So, also nach meinem fantastischen Schlag habe ich direkt eine Glatze bekommen und deswegen gucken wir uns das Spiel jetzt mal an, damit ich auch wirklich zeigen kann, was ich drauf habe. Zum Glück ist meine Hand noch halbwegs intakt, deswegen mal sehen, was das Spiel so zu bieten hat. In One Punch World könnt ihr die beliebtesten Charaktere aus One Punch Man spielen und tatsächlich einfach in der Welt umherrennen, verschiedene Charaktere freischalten, die dann spielen und damit den Bösewichten ordentlich einheizen. Hier am Booth könnt ihr euch coole Goodies abholen, zum Beispiel ein Mauspad, diese Maske oder ein Fächer. Das kann man hier immer gut gebrauchen auf der Gamescom. Das Spiel, wenn es denn rauskommt, wird auf den iPads available sein, auf dem PC oder eben auch auf Konsolen. Crossplay finde ich immer gut. Damit gebe ich zurück ins Studio und ich hole mir jetzt erstmal einen Kaffee.
Willkommen zurück hier im Gamescom-Studio von der Gamescom 2023. Ich bin Anne und ich habe jetzt die Ehre, einen ganz besonderen Gast hier begrüßen zu dürfen. Er ist der Fadler, sehr schön. Er ist der Vater des Siedler-Franchises, so wollte ich es eigentlich sagen. Und eine Legende in der deutschen Entwicklerszene. Ich bin sehr froh, dass er da ist. Hier ist der gute Volker. Hallo.
Ja, hallo Anne. Vielen Dank für die Einladung.
Sehr, sehr, sehr gerne. Du bist ja nicht einfach nur so hier hingekommen, ist ja ganz klar. Du hast ein neues Spiel im Gepäck. Sag uns mal, was hat dich denn ermutigt eigentlich jetzt nach all den Jahren, nach all der Erfahrung, die du gesammelt hast im Aufbaustrategie-Genre, da nochmal ein komplett neues Spiel zu erfinden?
Ja gut, ich bin ja in der Spielebranche mittlerweile schon fast 40 Jahre. Ich habe schon sehr, sehr früh damit angefangen. Es ist also wirklich eine große Leidenschaft von mir und ich fürchte, ich werde auch die nächsten 10 oder vielleicht noch 20 Jahre, wer weiß, weiter in der Spielebranche sein. Und ich denke, es ist mal wieder Zeit für ein Aufbaustrategiespiel mit sehr hohem Wuselfaktor.
Mit sehr hohem Wuselfaktor, da bin ich ganz bei dir. Pioneers of Pagodia heißt dein Spiel. Was genau würdest du sagen, macht es vielleicht neu in diesem Genre?
Ja, es ist ein Spiel, in dem der Spieler mit indirekter Steuerung viele tausend Einheiten hat, die seine Aufträge ausführen. Und das hat eine große Faszination, weil diese Einheiten halt diese Aufträge selbstständig ausführen und dadurch völlig eigene Dinge dann entstehen, manchmal auch Sachen, die der Spieler gar nicht beabsichtigt hat. Da können Kettenreaktionen entstehen. Auf der anderen Seite freut man sich aber auch fantastisch, wenn die Pläne, die man geschmiedet hat, so aufgehen, wie man sich das vorgestellt hat.
Du hast natürlich auch ein bisschen Gameplay mitgebracht. Vielleicht können wir da mal reingucken und das Ganze uns live ansehen. Hat das Ganze denn auch einen geschichtlichen Hintergrund? Also geht es wirklich auch nur darum, um einfach was Schönes zu erschaffen oder spielt die Geschichte auch eine tragende Rolle?
Ja, die Hintergrundgeschichte ist, dass wir hier auf einer Welt sind, die von einer Katastrophe heimgesucht wurde und es ist eine Inselwelt mit sehr vielen einzelnen Inseln, auf denen verschiedene Fraktionen leben und der Spieler sucht diese Inseln auf und versucht dort den Einwohnern zu helfen und die Aufträge zu erfüllen, damit sie wieder vereint werden können. Ja, und das ist für den Spieler schon auf jeden Fall eine sehr abwechslungsreiche Herausforderung. Unsere Welten werden prozedural generiert. Das heißt, jede Insel ist anders und man weiß nie, welche Überraschung auf einen wartet. Die Herausforderungen wechseln dadurch und jedes Mal hat man wieder neue Aufgaben und auch die strategische Situation ist in jedem Spiel anders. Das heißt also, in einem hat man vielleicht wenig Rohstoffe, in einem anderen ist es so, dass man vielleicht wenig Platz hat, um am Anfang zu bauen und sich erst mal weit ausbreiten muss. Immer neue Herausforderungen.
Okay. Wir können es hier gerade ja live sehen. Was für verschiedene Gebäude kann man denn da zum Beispiel bauen? Sind das so die Standardsachen wie zum Beispiel Erz abbauen und jemand muss Holz fällen gehen, damit erstmal ein Grundgerüst entsteht? Wie entwickelt sich das Ganze dann?
Ja, also es gibt verschiedenste Bereiche. Natürlich Rohstoffabbau spielt eine große Rolle. Es gibt verschiedene Erze auch. Man kann natürlich am Anfang braucht man auch sehr oft Baumaterial. Aber auch Nahrungsversorgung ist zum Beispiel wichtig. Es gibt verschiedene Nahrungstypen. Auf der einen Seite müssen die Bergarbeiter in ihren Minen versorgt werden, damit sie genug Kraft haben, um den Bergbau zu betreiben. Auf der anderen Seite wird auch die Bevölkerung mit Nahrung versorgt, damit sie sich vermehrt und man dann mehr Einwohner hat. Denn die Aufgaben wachsen ja ständig, die man dann auf einer Insel hat.
Ja.
Und außerdem müssen beispielsweise die Einheiten, die das eigene Gebiet verlassen und auf Entdeckungsreise gehen, zum Beispiel der Entdecker, der dann das Gebiet erkundet. Hier sehen wir gerade mal den Nebel, der Gebiete verdeckt, die man noch nicht kennt. Und der Entdecker muss auch verpflegt werden für seine Reisen.
Klar, ja. Mir fällt auf jeden Fall auf, das Ganze sieht sehr bunt, sehr farbenfroh aus. Habt ihr euch bewusst denn dafür entschieden, das Ganze, ja, sag ich mal, fröhlich zu gestalten?
Ja, also wir wollen auf jeden Fall eine positive Atmosphäre und positive Stimmung im Spiel haben. Das ist uns sehr wichtig. Wir sagen in Englisch, sagen wir dazu dann oft Ingenious Relaxation. Das ist also auf der einen Seite schon entspannend, auf der anderen Seite aber auch mental fordernd, das Spiel. Ja. Und das liegt daran, dass es gibt sehr viele Systeme im Spiel, die einem helfen. Man muss jetzt nicht jedes Micromanagement bei dem Spiel selbst steuern, weil ja auch die Figuren selbsttätig agieren. Aber auf der anderen Seite gibt es unzählige Möglichkeiten, die Strategie, die eigene, zu verbessern und zu optimieren. Das heißt, es ist recht leicht, überhaupt mal Sachen zum Funktionieren zu bekommen. Man setzt einfach ein paar Gebäude und die tun sich dann schon gegenseitig helfen. Aber das zu optimieren, zum Beispiel die Wege so zu bauen, dass die Transportzeiten verkürzt werden oder dass sehr effizient dann der Wald gerodet wird oder so, das sind alles Dinge, die man auf viele Arten verbessern kann.
Und ich bin ganz großer Freund von Tieren in solchen Spielen. Kannst du uns ein paar Beispiele nennen? Ich fand es immer sehr schön, wenn man irgendwie das Wild gesehen hat, das da so durch die Landschaften zieht oder auch Wale dann, wenn es quasi mehr zu sehen gab. Was gibt's hier bei euch?
Ja, also zum Early Access haben wir nur 3 Tierarten im Wald, die man jagen kann.
Okay.
Ja. Aber was eine wichtige Sache ist, alles ist in diesem Spiel simuliert. Das heißt also die Figuren, die sich durch die Spielwelt bewegen, aber genauso die Tiere, die es gibt, aber auch die Pflanzen, die man anpflanzt, sogar die Wälder, die Gebäude, alles ist Teil der Simulation und jetzt nicht nur irgendwie eine, sagen wir mal, Pseudo-Darstellung, die dem Zweck dient, dass der Spieler jetzt ein Feedback aus dem Spiel bekommt, sondern man kann wirklich alles nachvollziehen, was in dem Spiel passiert. Wenn irgendetwas nicht funktioniert, kann man überlegen, okay, wieso kommt jetzt auf dem Marktplatz, wieso kommen die Himbeeren da nicht an? Und kann dann im Spiel nachvollziehen, okay, liegt es daran, dass die nicht geerntet wurden oder liegt es daran, dass sie nicht transportiert werden? Und das ist ein wichtiger Faktor, weil dadurch wird das Spiel selbst erklärend und der Spieler kann sehr viel nachvollziehen, was in der Spielwelt passiert, ohne dass er irgendwie darüber lesen muss oder im Interface nachgucken muss, sondern die Spielwelt stellt dies alles direkt dar.
Du hast Early Access von dir aus schon angesprochen. Wann geht's denn da los? Wann können wir damit rechnen?
Ja, wir wollen im Anfang Oktober wird es eine Demo geben, die public ist, die auch jeder spielen kann dann. Und am 13.12. geht das Spiel dann in den Early Access.
Spannend. Seid ihr aufgeregt?
Natürlich sind wir das, ja. Also wir freuen uns, weil das Feedback ist umwerfend positiv, dass wir auf das Spiel bekommen. Ja, natürlich, es ist ein Early Access und es gibt auch noch viele Dinge zu tun, mit denen das Spiel dann noch in der Zukunft reifen wird. Aber trotzdem ist es so, dass wir so überwiegend extrem positives Feedback bekommen, dass wir uns sehr darauf freuen und wir werden das Spiel dann ja auch mit der Community dann weiterentwickeln in der Zeit danach, wenn es im Early Access ist und auf die Phase freuen wir uns auch sehr. Und jetzt auf der Gamescom ist es ja auch zum ersten Mal möglich, auch für Endkunden hier am Stand sich das Spiel anzusehen, die Maus mal selbst in die Hand zu nehmen und mal etwas zu probieren und das freut uns natürlich.
Wo findet man euch denn hier?
Wir sind hier in der Halle 10.2,
okay.
Das heißt also oberes Stockwerk Halle 10 in der Indie Arena.
Super, da komme ich definitiv mal vorbei bei euch. Vielen Dank, dass du heute hier warst.
Sehr gerne.
Es war mir eine Ehre, dich hier zu haben in unserem schönen Studio. Und ich wünsche dir noch alles Gute für dein Spiel.
Vielen Dank, bis zum nächsten Mal.
Danke dir. Ja, das war ein wunderschöner kleiner Snack heute hier aus dem Gamescom Studio. Bitte bleibt dran, wir haben noch viele andere spannende Geschichten für euch. Bis dann.
Wir stehen hier direkt im Maul des Dinos am Marvel Snap Booth. Ich bin hier mit Rishi, der Marketing-Head von Marvel Snap. Und ja, wir gucken uns diesen ganzen Booth mal an. Und vorher habe ich natürlich ein paar Fragen. Nämlich, was ist das eigentlich für ein gigantisches Monster, hinter dem wir hier stehen? Hello, so okay, obviously I want to know, how did this huge thing get here, and who is he, what is up with that?
Absolutely. First off, welcome into the Marvel Snap booth. We're so happy to be here. The Marvel Snap experience that we have over here today is really a representation of our latest animatic. And what it is Mecha Devil Dinosaur climbing through the multiverse to reach our cosmic cube. And we wanted to represent this in a way that made sense for players. And the only way we thought it made sense is if we did something massive and that it's coming out to bite you. So players can come here, they get a chance to take a few photos in front of it. And once you get your photos, you can pick them up over there for a reward in your inbox in Marvel Snap.
Also wenn ihr zum Booth tatsächlich kommen wollt, dann könnt ihr dieses Riesenvieh begutachten, der die ganze Zeit durch das Multiversum hopst. Und ihr könnt euch, wenn ihr den Booth einmal angeguckt habt, danach auch einen kleinen Zettel abholen und dann könnt ihr euch ein paar kleine Credits für das Spiel verdienen. So, Marvel Snap is a turn-based combat game. How likely is it that there's actually going to be paper play available?
Marvel Snap is purely a game that you can pick up and play for free forever if you want to. We only pay to get skins or things like that. And by the way, all of these awards you can earn yourself too just by logging in and playing. We didn't want to have a game where you had to pay to do something. We wanted to create a game that's fun. Credit to the team at Second Dinner and Marvel, as well as Newverse, for making something that's really a love letter to Marvel fans and to card games. In fact, you can check out the latest version, which is PC, that launched today. And if you log in today, you can get the new variant for free, the Mecha Devil Dinosaur.
Oha, okay, also ihr könnt es jetzt nicht nur auf eurem Telefon spielen, sondern auch auf dem Computer. Und wenn ihr euch heute sogar noch anmeldet, gibt es auch einen Charakter gratis. Jetzt haben wir ja bei der Opening Night Live schon einen Trailer gesehen mit mehreren Charakteren. Da waren Deadpool, Squirrel Girl, da habe ich natürlich auch ein paar Fragen zu. So in the trailer that we saw, are these playable characters and playable skins that are upcoming, or are you just do you just want to show off with awesome animatics? Which is fine, by the way, but...
Thank you, yeah. Well, we want to do cool things with the IP, and we want to tell the story of Marvel through Marvel Snap. We think through different variations in cards, we get the opportunity to tell those stories. Now, Mecha Devil Dinosaur did show up in the game, and we could expect that some of the other ones will show up as well. We do hear the community, and we always want to do things for the players. So if you really love some of the variances and the cards that you see, let us know, and maybe we can make something happen.
Alles klar, also am Ende liegt es natürlich an euch, welchen Charakter ihr sehen und spielen wollt. Und da hat der Liebe uns verraten, da ist noch einiges möglich. Wir gucken uns jetzt ein bisschen das Set genauer an und ich will vor allem wissen, was es mit diesem Cube auf sich hat. Bei Marvel wissen wir ja schon, dass Cubes da eine relativ wichtige Sache sind und das ist bei Marvel Snap natürlich nicht anders. Hier stehe ich jetzt hinter einem ziemlich großen interaktiven Cube mit dem Creator. Da möchte ich doch mal genauer wissen, was da los ist. Hello, this is IGN, I'm Leonie, and you are?
My name is Jake Laser. We built this cube for Marvel Snap. We're here to show it off.
Alright, so you build a cube. Sie haben sozusagen diesen Würfel hergestellt. So what does it consist of and what happens?
So it's made of some PVC, like acrylic see-through plastic, and it has pneumatic cylinders inside that basically expand when you press the button. It's got a bunch of lights in there too, a whole bunch of electronics. So when you hit that button over there, it snaps. Here, I'll do it real quick. Just one.
Uh-oh.
Yes. So just like in the game, it expands and flashes and makes noise. So that's what it does. Yeah.
Okay, this is where my free credits are from, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me again, what is it? It's working with air and compression?
Yes. So it uses compressed air to expand these cylinders to make it pop out like you just saw. And a bunch of stage lighting to make it all light up. And it plays sound too, like the snap in the game. So.
Okay, also da ist tatsächlich ein Haufen Luft drin, das ist so ein bisschen wie eine Dampfmaschine, das wird dann sozusagen compressed und wieder aufgepackt und muss natürlich auch technisch und ingenieursmäßig gut ineinander übergehen, damit das auch wirklich wie ein Puzzleteil wieder zusammengeführt werden kann. Jetzt möchte ich natürlich wissen, warum macht man, also ich meine, ich verstehe hier, weil das sieht super aus, aber warum macht man sowas und das auch noch hobbymäßig? So what inspires you to like build things in your, like, because I imagine you're not just the cube guy, like what is up with that?
Of course. So I do a lot of social media and engineering. So for my channel, we build a lot of stuff from pop culture, mostly like Marvel related projects. So I made this Iron Man jetpack that you can fly around with. These like Spider-Man wall climbers, you can climb up buildings. I've climbed up 2 skyscrapers with them. So this collaboration was like very natural, you know. It just makes sense for us to build like a Marvel thing for all of this. So yeah.
Okay, also er baut tatsächlich ziemlich viel rum. Er hat sogar schon ein Iron Man Backpack gemacht, mit dem er dann auch schon einen Wolkenkratzer hochspaziert ist. Also so kann man das dann auch vereinen, wenn man technisches Know-how hat und so ein bisschen auch einen Adrenalinkick möchte.
Good job remembering all that. That's probably hard to.
Well, yeah, you just told me you worked up a skyscraper in an Iron Man thing. So
yes, there you go.
I'm afraid I'll never forget it.
Yes, yeah. You can all watch it online. It's all documented. So.
Well, where can we find you?
YouTube.com/JLaserVideo, TikTok, Instagram, JLaserVideo, wherever you want to find it, whatever social media you use. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, and good job on the cube.
Thank you. Yes,
I'm gonna press the button again. Can I press the button? Can I press the button? I want to press the button. That was a good button.
Yes, very satisfying.
Right? Yeah, it is. It is. Actually, yeah. Wir werfen jetzt noch einen kleinen Blick auf ein absolutes Marvel-Highlight, ungefähr die Lieblingsheldin von, naja, so jedem, oder? Ich meine, hier ist Squirrel Girl für uns. We are here on the backside of the booth and there's some Easter eggs hidden here.
Yeah, that's right. We have a lot of Easter eggs around the booth. You know, we're expecting cosplayers to show up throughout the entire show. And a fan favorite has always been Squirrel Girl. But we wanted to do a little bit of a variation. So the artist at Second Dinner dreamt up of anime dream girl Squirrel Girl, who we have right here, holding up a piece of the cube that you saw out in front. Now, we're big fans of different styles of art, and we always want to pay homage to Marvel characters, and this is one of our ways of doing it this time.
I love when like just the animation styles match and mix up. Like we've seen this and like Marvel does this frequently. We've also seen it with Spider-Verse movies and all of that. Like I think this is a very interesting thing and very unique and also helps the industry a lot.
Absolutely, totally agree. As a Marvel fan, a Marvel nerd, if you will, we really like to, I like to find the personalities, what really appeals to me. And in Marvel Snap, you can create a deck that works for you perfectly. Now, you might want to make a deck to win, or you might want to make a deck that just represents you and your belief system or the ideas or the styles that you love. And that's what we love about Marvel Snap. So if you have a chance, make sure you check it out.
Nice. In Marvel Snap könnt ihr euch also euer komplettes Deck zusammenbauen aus verschiedenen Artstyles sogar. Das ganze Zeug muss natürlich gut zusammenpassen und für euren Playstyle geeignet sein, aber da sind die Varianten auf jeden Fall vorhanden und ihr könnt euch das Spiel gerne jederzeit angucken. Ich gebe jetzt zurück ins Studio zu Sebastian.
So, liebe Leute, es geht jetzt los. Sie haben uns gerade gefragt, ob wir ready to fly sind. Ich habe zwar Nein gesagt, aber es hört keiner auf mich. Und wie ihr vielleicht sehen könnt, geht es jetzt aufwärts und jetzt wird es auch ein bisschen schneller. Ich versuche mich gerade einfach darauf zu konzentrieren, euch so ein bisschen zu erzählen von dem Ganzen und das hier zu ignorieren. Das ist gar nicht so einfach. Genießt mit mir jetzt in dem Moment einfach mal die Aussicht und wahrscheinlich den Stufe 3 Sonnenbrand, den ich mir jetzt in den nächsten 15 Minuten hole. Ich denke die ganze Zeit darüber nach, warum ich es gerade nicht schaffe, das Spiel zu spielen. Und ich glaube, der Grund ist, dass meine Füße hier gerade 50 Meter über dem Boden hängen, ich die Claudius-Therme hier direkt von oben beobachten kann die Seilbahn so schön vor uns her schwingt und wir direkt über der Autobahn hängen. Jesus Maria. So, ich habe jetzt 20 Minuten City Skylines 2 gespielt, meine Lieblingsstadt San Francisco ein bisschen umgebaut, den Verkehr in die falsche Richtung gelenkt. Das könnt ihr auch alles machen. Ihr könnt eure Städte ausbauen, eure Lieblingsstädte komplett umbauen, komplett neue Städte erschaffen, wenn ihr das wollt. Da ist alles möglich. Bin sehr gespannt, was ihr aus dem Spiel macht. Und ich sag mal so, ich hoffe, es geht jetzt langsam wieder auf den Boden der Tatsachen. Und nach gefühlten 5 Stunden und starkem Sonnenbrand im Gesicht und auf den Armen sind wir jetzt gleich wieder auf dem Boden. Und ich bin wirklich glücklich. Obwohl man sagen muss, es war ein sehr außergewöhnliches Event. Ich habe noch nie 50 Meter über dem Fußboden, über der Autobahn, ein Spiel gespielt. Und ihr solltet es selber ausprobieren. City Skylines 2 auf dem PC ist definitiv ein Erlebnis, wenn ihr nicht so abgelenkt seid wie ich. Schaut selbst rein. Und ich würde sagen, ich laufe jetzt zitternd zurück zur Messe.
Hey Leute, willkommen zurück im Gamescom Studio 2023, hier live von der Gamescom. Ich freue mich gerade wie ein Schnitzel, denn wir haben jemand ganz Besonderen hier, nämlich Mr. Mortal Kombat himself ist jetzt bei mir, Ed Boon. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, how are you? How are
I'm
you?
Very happy to be here in Germany. I love coming to Gamescom.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming here. Of course, you brought Mortal Kombat 1.
We did.
Right?
Yes.
And at ONL, we saw a brand new trailer. We saw a couple new characters revealed to come into the game. Can you tell us a little bit about what we saw in that trailer?
Absolutely. We reintroduced Sindel, General Shao as main fighters, and then we also introduced Motaro and Shujinko as cameo fighters.
Right.
And so giving a little bit of a backstory between the new relationship with Sindel and General Shao, and as well as showing their gameplay, which is the fun stuff for me, is just seeing all the kind of crazy things that can be done with the characters and the cameo fighters.
All right. We actually have some B-roll gameplay here. You mentioned the cameo, right? This is a kind of a new thing for Mortal Kombat to do.
Absolutely.
Why did you decide it is time for that now?
Well, with every Mortal Kombat game, we really want to introduce something new, even if it means removing something that was working from the previous game, because I really feel like players know that when they're going to play a Mortal Kombat game, there's going to be something new that they can learn and practice and everything, and it's not just going to be the last game with prettier graphics. So these cameo fighters come in, that you can see Kano come in, and they give you like help whenever you need it, and it really lets players come up with their own inventive ways to combine the two, the main fighter and the cameo fighter. What we've seen with what the players have come up with, for those who've played it, has been such a great thing to see, is having them come up with things that we never would have thought of.
So you mentioned you got some feedback already. I feel like some of the feedback was kind of mixed. How do you think about that?
Well, we got feedback that they wanted the players to move a little bit quicker. That was one of the things, and we absolutely addressed that. So we sped up the action a little bit, made them move quicker, and that's what's great about those, the betas and the tech demos, is getting it in the hands of players early and then getting feedback in time for us to make the final game even better.
Can you tell us a bit more about the story? You kind of teased it as well in the trailer. Will it be a classic Mortal Kombat story, or is it completely something new?
Well, it's a Mortal Kombat story, but a brand new story that is told from a literal Big Bang, like creation of the universe. This is Liu Kang's version of a universe, and so he's reimagining a universe with Mortal Kombat characters, but they're in completely different situations. So Sub-Zero and Scorpion are brothers this time. They're not opposing clans. And Raiden and Liu Kang have kind of traded places, but Raiden was always the god, and Liu Kang was kind of like the common man. Now they're the opposite. You know, Liu Kang is you know, pretty much like an elder god almost, and Raiden is the common man. So you get to see these characters reintroduced, so as if you had never seen them before, and that to me is one of the fun parts of it, is just seeing these characters in brand new situations.
Why did you do that? Why did you decide at NetherRealm to say, okay, let's do something completely different now?
Yeah, well, for the sake of doing something different, when you count, this is actually the 12th Mortal Kombat game. So for us, I feel that one of the reasons why we've been able to sustain a certain level of success with the games is because we're not afraid to change things up. So we just do dramatic changes, and that's why we're calling it Mortal Kombat 1, is because this is the beginning of a brand new story that we're telling.
I'd like to talk about esports real quick. How important is it to you that games like fighting games like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and Tekken, they're all big esports games, right? And they have things like Evo where they compete against each other. How important is it to you that Mortal Kombat is within this league of very good fighting games?
Well, it's very important. Obviously, we want something that the hardcore player can get good at.
Yes.
Can they calling it like labbing, basically, where they sit there and they just learn combos and they perfect their skills with a character, and then they compete in a big stage at Evo and stuff. So it's always fun to be considered there. At the same time, we also put a lot of emphasis on the single player, because some people just aren't that good.
Yes,
and they're not going to compete online. So we give them this great expansive story mode, and then we're also giving them this new mode called Invasions, which is also a single player mode. And so we really feel like we have such a strong single player, and we always want to be competitive with esports. I believe this is the biggest, most complete like Mortal Kombat package that we delivered.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that new mode you just mentioned?
Absolutely. It's called Invasions, and the way I always describe it to everybody is imagine a giant board game that's many city blocks long.
All right.
And the player is progressing through each node. Each node presents a challenge to them, or it'll be a prize, it'll be a chest, it'll be a secret, a door, a key, and we have it's many hours of play, and every 6 weeks we repopulate it with new challenges and new rewards.
Cool.
And so the player just keeps coming back, and so we have many seasons planned out for the players to keep coming back and getting all these. It's probably the main source of getting rewards in this game, as well as it keeps getting refreshed.
That sounds very exciting.
Yeah, it is.
That people can come back and experience new stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a good decision, I'd say.
Yeah, we're very
all right, thanks. I think that's all the time we have for now. Thank you for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
All the luck in the world to Mortal Kombat 1. I'm a big fan, so I'm gonna play it day one for sure.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Alright, ja, das war's hier von mir und Ed Boon zu Mortal Kombat 1. Und ja, ihr solltet definitiv dranbleiben, denn wir haben sehr viel mehr für euch im Petto. Bis gleich.
Ich bin jetzt hier mit Hide the Pain Harold und wir stehen hier am 9-Gag-Booth. Wir haben einige Fragen mitgebracht und der gute Mann versteht mich sogar, nicht wahr?
Ja, ich verstehe gut.
Ich habe da mal eine Frage, und zwar, wie würdest du die Erfahrung, zu einem Meme zu werden, beschreiben in einem Wort?
Unglaublich. Absolut unglaublich.
Wir glauben es dir auf jeden Fall trotzdem. Ist das deine erste Gamescom?
Ja, ich bin zum ersten Mal hier. Ich habe schon teilgenommen auf ähnlichen Veranstaltungen in Italien meistens. Aber das ist die größte, ja. Und ich konnte mich nicht vorstellen, dass es so viele Aussteller hier gibt und so viele Neuigkeiten gibt. So, ich hatte noch nie die Gelegenheit, alle Hallen anschauen. Aber es ist wirklich toll.
Das stimmt. Spielst du derzeit irgendein Spiel oder hast du ein Lieblingsspiel?
Ja, ich habe ein Lieblingsspiel, was auch hier dabei ist. Und es ist World of Tanks Blitz. Ich habe damit gespielt zu Hause auch. Ich habe einen Account auf Deutsch auch erkannt.
Fantastisch. Dann
aber meine ersten Computerspiele waren sehr altmodisch von heute zu sehen. Ich habe mit einem Computer ZX Spectrum angefangen. Und damals mein Lieblingsspiel war Manic Miner, wenn jemand erinnert sich auf dieses Game.
Also
es gibt so viele Spieler und es kommen immer neue und neue. Ich kann es nicht folgen.
Das können, glaube ich, die wenigsten. Aber wir freuen uns trotzdem, dass du hier bist und vielen, vielen Dank für das Interview. Wir wünschen dir doch richtig viel Spaß und viel Grund zum Lächeln.
Ja, es war meine Ehre, hier zu sein und mit euch zu sein. So, viel Spaß.
Willkommen zurück hier im Gamescom Studio 2023, live von der Gamescom hier in Köln. Ich bin ganz besonders froh, dass ich heute hier in diesem wunderschönen Glaskasten sitzen darf und ein bisschen euch informiere über das, was hier so los ist. Und heute habe ich die besondere Ehre, einen Gast bei mir zu haben, der zur Abwechslung auch mal meine Sprache spricht. Und wir machen am besten sofort weiter mit dem lieben Miles. Hallo Miles.
Grüß dich.
Schön, dass du da bist. Bevor wir gleich über Cyberpunk sprechen, denn darum wird es natürlich gehen, würde ich gerne von dir wissen, was denn eigentlich dein Job ist bei CD Projekt Red.
Ja, das wechselt so ein bisschen. Ich habe letztes Jahr noch wirklich sehr aktiv an Leveln selber geschraubt als Leveldesigner. Mittlerweile leite ich aber das Leveldesign-Team und das macht mir auch sehr viel Spaß, aber jetzt, ich bin noch in dieser Akklimatisierungsphase, wo ich halt so feststelle, okay, jetzt ist mein Job nicht mehr selber, all die ganzen coolen Level zusammenzuschrauben, dafür zu sorgen, dass die NPCs da drauf sich gut verhalten und wenn man, ich weiß nicht, so eine Schusssektion hat, dass man da auch irgendwie einen tollen Kampf hat, sondern anderen Leuten dazu zu verhelfen, möglichst tolle Erfahrungen für die Spieler zusammenzuschrauben.
Das klingt tatsächlich auch ein bisschen stressig, muss ich sagen. Wenn du so ein bisschen den Leuten über die Schulter gucken musst und sehen musst, dass alles gut läuft.
Ja, aber ich habe echt ein wirklich fantastisches Team. Also die Leute da drin sind alle unheimlich, nicht nur talentiert, sondern auch wirklich, wirklich erpicht darauf, richtig geile Spiele zu machen. Und also von so einem Team irgendwie Lead zu sein, das macht das schon irgendwie sehr viel einfacher. Also schon wirklich der Jackpot.
Das ist auf jeden Fall das Wichtigste. Um jetzt mal zum Thema zu kommen. Auf der ONL haben wir tatsächlich neues Gameplay gesehen, beziehungsweise einen neuen Trailer gesehen. Der war jetzt sehr actiongeladen, muss ich sagen. Ist natürlich toll, aber ich würde ganz gerne wissen, was sind denn im DLC jetzt so die ruhigen Momente? Vielleicht kannst du da ein bisschen mehr erzählen. Worum geht es? Hat man viel zu entdecken? Gibt es da viel zu erzählen?
Das ist eine sehr gute Frage. Ja klar, also für uns ist halt natürlich wichtig so, ich sage immer, wir sind als Studio ein Studio, das eben Geschichten erzählt. Und das kommt bei dem Expansion natürlich nicht zu kurz. Wir liefern halt, wie bei all unseren Expansions, da hauen wir halt echt gerne drauf. Und der Gedanke ist halt, dass wir halt wirklich eine komplett neue Story haben, die auch mehrere Stunden lang ist, also ich sage da jetzt keine Zahl, aber da können die Spieler, wie sie es halt von uns gewohnt sind, wenn die Witcher 3 gespielt haben und die Expansion gespielt haben, also wirklich sehr viel Zeit investieren. Wir haben komplett neue Charakter, einen haben wir schon angekündigt, das ist Solomon Reed, der ist gespielt von Idris Elba, also auch wieder ein bisschen Star Power drin und ich glaube, dass die Leute, also da haben wir halt echt nochmal so eine Entwicklung im Vergleich zum Basisspiel reinbringen können, weil für uns sind Expansions immer super cool. Das Base Game, vor allem in dem Fall, ist es halt natürlich immer so, dass man sehr viel erst so auch in Erfahrung bringen muss. So von wegen, okay, welche Features hat das Spiel?
Ja.
Wie spielt sich das? Wie kommt das bei den Spielern an und so? Und jetzt, sowas kann man bei dem Expansion, das weiß man dann ja schon alles und man weiß, wie man die Sachen macht. Das heißt, man kann sich mehr darauf konzentrieren, das noch cooler und besser zu machen. Und ich glaube, das werden die Leute, die unserem Expansion dann eine Chance geben, und ich hoffe, das sind viele von euch, dann auch sehen. Also ich bin da wirklich sehr angetan von der Qualität, die wir erreicht haben.
Gibt es da was Spezielles, was ihr komplett überarbeitet habt oder verbessert habt oder wo du sagen würdest, das hat bisher gefehlt und jetzt ist es endlich drin?
Ja, also das ist tatsächlich witzig, dass du fragst. Also es ist ja im Prinzip so, dass wir für das Expansion im Prinzip keinen Stein liegen gelassen haben und im Prinzip haben wir jedes einzelne System im Spiel teilweise von Grund auf überarbeitet.
Das klingt nach viel Arbeit.
Es war viel Arbeit. Wir sitzen jetzt auch schon eine Weile dran,
Ja.
ne? und haben auch eine Weile auch von den Patches her schon länger nicht mehr von uns hören lassen. Das liegt einfach daran, dass wir jetzt angefangen haben, wirklich dieses Expansion zu polieren und in dem Rahmen natürlich auch das 2.0 Update, was wir gestern angekündigt haben, weil die ganzen coolen Sachen, die wir gestern angekündigt haben, das Polizeisystem, wo wir jetzt komplett, ich sag mal, die Leute ihre GTA-Fantasien ausleben können, ne? Indem sie halt sich mit der Polizei anlegen. Oder das Cyberware-System, was wir komplett überarbeitet haben. Also Cyberware ist jetzt der einzige Ort im Spiel, wo man Rüstung kriegt. Jetzt ist es nicht mehr auf der Kleidung. Ne? Dann haben wir, wie in unserem Anime, auch so ein bisschen mehr diese Fantasie reingebracht, dass die Cyberware, die man hat, die verarbeitet der Körper nicht so ohne weiteres. Dein Körper hat ein Limit, wie viel Cyberware er tragen kann. Und muss man halt so ein bisschen jetzt strategischer entscheiden, welche Cyberware man wirklich in seinen Körper installiert und was nicht. All diese Sachen, die kommen dann nämlich auch für die Leute, die das Spiel einfach schon haben, in der Form eines Patches. Und das ist für mich echt groß, weil wie geil ist es bitte, dass man als Entwickler sagen kann, hey, guck mal Leute, wir überarbeiten das Spiel, wir haben euch gehört und jetzt bringen wir diese ganzen Updates for free. Ne? Und wenn ihr dann noch Bock habt, dann kauft bitte das Expansion, weil wir echt sehr viel Arbeit auch in diese neue Story, den neuen Distrikt, also es kommt ein komplett neuer Bereich im Spiel, neue Quests, neue Nebenaktivitäten, Waffen, Fahrzeuge, das ist alles Teil des Expansions und ja.
Kannst du uns vielleicht ein Geheimnis erzählen? Etwas, was noch keiner weiß?
Boah,
tricky, ich weiß.
Es ist sehr tricky, weil natürlich von so Spoilern möchte ich keine geben. Wir
vielleicht
haben
so kleine Hinweise.
Wir haben ein paar Geheimnisse, die wir wirklich stark für uns behalten, die wir auch wirklich aus dem Marketing und so raushalten. Also das ist vielleicht das, was ein Tease. Andererseits ist es halt so, wir haben so viele Überarbeitungen in dem Spiel, auch so, jetzt haben wir gestern die größten angekündigt und dann, wenn der Patch und das Spiel, also das Spiel sage ich schon, dann rauskommen, dann werden da nochmal wieder natürlich Patch-Notes und so kommen und da wird auch nicht alles drinstehen, weil es einfach so viele Sachen sind und wahrscheinlich ist es eher so, dass die Spieler und Spielerinnen dann endlich das Spiel spielen und uns dann sagen, was sie noch so finden, weil wenn man sich das mal so vorstellt als Entwickler, wir arbeiten jetzt schon eine gewisse Weile da dran und es ist halt relativ schwer zu tracken, was für Veränderungen immer in dieses Spiel reingehen oder wie die auch überarbeitet worden sind. Teilweise gehen auch mal Sachen während der Entwicklung rein und dann gehen die wieder raus, weil passt dann doch nicht so. Und wir haben so viele Kleinigkeiten, wie zum Beispiel jetzt einen Cooldown auf Consumables. Das heißt, du kannst nicht einfach nur noch deine Heiltränke, sage ich jetzt mal so Spam oder Granatenspam machen, sondern da muss man auch ein bisschen mehr überlegen, wie man das timet. Wir haben die Talentbäume komplett überarbeitet. Was finde ich noch besonders cool? Autos werden einem jetzt nicht mehr so über SMS so zugeschickt oder so und dann muss man da irgendwo hin und die einsammeln, sondern die kann man jetzt über eine Webseite kaufen, also wirklich in dem Spiel. Und da sind also so viele kleine Neuerungen reingegangen, die das Spielprinzip so sehr viel runder machen. Wir haben die gesamte Spielbalance auch nochmal auf den Kopf gestellt. Netrunner funktionieren nochmal anders. Also das ist wirklich und.
Das klingt richtig krass, klingt nach einem neuen Spiel quasi.
Im Prinzip schon. Wir nennen es ja auch das 2.0 Update und wie gesagt, mit dem Expansion wird es halt, ich glaube, eine super runde Sache, vor allem, weil das Expansion ist auch in das Spiel eingebettet. Also es ist nicht so, dass es nach der Hauptstory oder so stattfindet, sondern es ist quasi so ein paralleler Handlungsstrang.
Wäre auch eine Frage gewesen, die ich hätte. Muss man zu einem bestimmten Punkt gespielt haben, um das jetzt einzubinden?
Ja, im Prinzip schon. Man muss quasi den Prolog durchgespielt haben. Also nachdem man dann seinen Heist im Arasaka Hotel da irgendwie beim Piki gemacht hat, danach kann man dann da so ran und auch noch ein bisschen weiter, glaube ich. Aber im Prinzip ist eben das komplett frei, wie man da eben rangeht, und wenn man da mitmacht, dann gibt es auch die Chance auf, aber muss nicht, je nachdem wie ihr euch entscheidet, dass man zum Beispiel auch ein neues Ende dann freischaltet. Also es ist komplett eingewoben in das Hauptspiel und zusammen mit all diesen Feature-Änderungen und sowas, ich glaube, das ist...
Da ist es, das Geheimnis. Ein neues
jetzt
Ende.
Ist,
Nein, Mann.
Ja, mal gucken, ob's. Aber ihr wisst ja, wie wir Enden machen. Also wer sich da jetzt ein Happy End weiß nicht.
Wir werden es sehen. Okay, letzte Sache. In einem Satz. Worauf bist du am meisten stolz bei diesem Projekt?
Schwer, ne? Was sage ich jetzt, ohne dass das jetzt irgendwie so zu cheesy wird? Also das war halt, nach dem Launch war halt echt eine schwere Zeit. Nicht nur für all unsere Fans, die uns irgendwie jahrelang begleitet haben, sondern auch für uns als Entwickler. Ne? Weil kein Spieleentwickler geht irgendwie... Also ich kenne keinen in meinem Umkreis, aber auch die Leute, die hier rumlaufen, gibt keinen, der losgeht und sagt, ey, ich möchte ein scheiß Spiel machen oder sowas. Ja. Ne? Also es gibt es einfach nicht. Jeder, der als Spieleentwickler arbeitet, möchte einfach das möglichst geilste Spiel irgendwie bauen. Ob du kleine Mobile Games machst oder riesige AAA-Titel. Und natürlich war die Moral wirklich, wirklich am Boden eine Zeit lang. Aber das Coole war halt eben, wie das Team sich relativ schnell gefunden hat und eben auch diesem... der teilweise echt starken Toxizität im Internet auch so gegengestellt hat und gesagt hat, Leute, wir wollen jetzt dann aber auch liefern, ne? Und wir setzen uns jetzt hier hin, fast 3 Jahre lang, ja, und werden einfach unsere Taten sprechen lassen und haben wirklich dann einen Patch nach dem anderen Stück für Stück gemacht. Der Elan in dem Entwicklerteam einfach dann zu sagen, okay, wir machen immer noch den extra Schritt. Ne? Wir hätten ja auch einfach schon mit den Patches einfach aufhören können, aber nee, diese ganzen Systemüberarbeitungen gehen zum Beispiel auch auf die Kosten nicht nur unseres Gameplay-Teams, aber vor allem die Gameplay-Designer, die dann gesagt haben, Leute, wir wollen da echt noch mal viel machen. Ne? Und da hat halt das ganze Studio dann mitgezogen, und da ist es eben auch cool, dass wir als Entwickler in diesem Team auch die Chance bekommen haben, die Zeit, das Geld, ne, um diese Änderungen jetzt einzuführen. Und also insofern hoffe ich halt, dass dieser Launch dann für uns echt gut läuft, dass die Resonanz fantastisch wird. Wie gesagt, das Update, mit dem die meisten dieser Änderungen kommen, ist komplett gratis. Wenn ihr das Spiel habt, einfach dann downloaden, wenn es soweit ist. Und dass dann die Leute sehen, wie viel Herz da reingeflossen ist. Ja. Und dann Spaß an dem Produkt haben.
Ich kann dir sagen, ich bin auf jeden Fall für euch mit stolz auf euch. Ich finde es toll, dass ihr weitergemacht habt, jetzt mit der Expansion rauskommt, und wünsche euch natürlich viel Erfolg und gutes Feedback an der Stelle.
Dankeschön.
Ja, das war's von Miles und mir hier aus dem Studio. Wir gucken jetzt mal, was als nächstes hier passiert auf der Gamescom 2023.
Bei der Gamescom geht es natürlich nicht nur um Spiele und Development, sondern auch um alles rund ums Thema Gaming, so wie zum Beispiel auch Feminismus im Gaming oder eben Diskriminierung. Deswegen sind wir hier bei einem Panel von SK Gaming, und unter anderem ist Rapperin Bad Moms J dabei. Und ganz ehrlich, die hat da sicherlich einiges Wichtiges zu sagen, denn sie als Frau hat sicherlich schon einige Erfahrungen gemacht, wie es ist, in ihren Bereichen, in denen sie eigentlich unfassbar gut ist, unfassbar doll nicht ernst genommen zu werden. Und deswegen schauen wir da mal rein und hoffen, dass es für sie gut läuft.
Vorteil fängt immer am Kopf an. Also du hast das automatisch, wenn du irgendwas siehst oder irgendwas hörst. Ich glaube, es kommt nur darauf an, wie du damit umgehst.
Und gerade am Anfang war das dann schon ziemlich hart, weil da wirklich sehr viele, sehr anonyme Kommentare reinkamen. Das ging dann quasi Richtung, quasi meine Kompetenzen, warum ich überhaupt da bin, Richtung Aussehen. Also wirklich alle Dinge dabei.
Du musst nicht so eine Meinung haben, du musst nicht in die Tastatur hauen, scroll einfach weiter. Ich verstehe nicht, warum Leute nicht einfach die App zumachen, wenn ihnen was nicht gefällt.
Eine Fußballerin, Rapperin und E-Sportlerin, die sind hier zusammen im Panel unterwegs und reden über ihre Erfahrungen in ihrem jeweiligen Fachgebiet. Denn die sind nun mal männerdominiert und darüber entstehen Vorurteile. Solche Sachen könnt ihr hier auch auf der Gamescom erleben. Und ich gebe jetzt zurück ins Studio.
Wir sind zurück im Gamescom-Studio hier auf der Gamescom in Köln und ich habe jetzt einen weiteren Knallertitel für euch, wo ich mich tatsächlich mit ein paar Entwicklern unterhalten kann. Und die guten Jungs sind auch schon hier eingetroffen. Also heißt bitte willkommen Alex und Cesar. Hallo.
Hello.
Hello. Hi guys. So what are your job titles to get in with this first?
Well, I'm creative director for Lords of the Fallen.
And I'm the art director of Lord of the Fallen.
That's nice. That's a good case that we have you guys here, so we can talk about the nice looks of the game as well.
Yeah, we're very happy to be here and always glad to talk about the game.
Yeah, thanks
of
for
course,
having
yeah,
us.
sure, you're welcome. So, to clear something up first, this Lords of the Fallen game, is it in any way connected to the one from 2014, or is it a complete reboot and standalone?
Well, you're right on both accounts.
Oh.
This is not a good answer, I suppose. No. So, it is connected in every way. I'll start from the obvious things. The story is a continuation of the first game. So in our game, you're going to get to see the consequences of Harkins, the protagonist of the first game, his actions. You're going to see the consequence, albeit a millennia later. So the story is a continuation. We inherited absolutely everything when it comes to creatures, lore, schools of magic. They had 3 schools of magic. We have 3 schools of magic. We could have had 5, but we maintained the orthodoxy. And then we added more. And then tenfold we made the world bigger. Things that were barely mentioned in item descriptions in the first game, we made them characters and ambassadors, and they speak of those things, and the theology is omnipresent. So you'll find the bones of Lords of the Fallen in the Lords of the Fallen. But art-wise, and this is where I'm going to pass the baton to Alex.
I'll take it.
Art-wise, because it was such a massive gap. Now it's nearly a decade.
Yeah.
The first game was a product of its time.
Right.
So it was more high fantasy, much more allegorical. So we were keen to modernize it, make it grimy, realistic, dark fantasy, gothic, bloodied, muddied. And this is where Alex came to our rescue.
Yeah. Where did you draw the inspiration from?
So, as Cesar said, the first game came out in 2014.
Yes.
In the game, we passed a millennia, but in our real world, a lot of time passed also. So what the players are waiting for this genre changed also. As I said, we needed to ground the game a bit more. We also developed the story, and storytelling is everything for us. So the art is driven by the storytelling and what we wanted to give. Our main word for the entire project was immersion. And what can we use to create immersion? For us devs is bringing emotion. So the way for us to bring emotion is to be true to our story, of course fulfill the gameplay, and then the art comes with it. So in terms of references, we took everything that was from the dark fantasy, like Berserk, the manga Berserk, Bestiarius, or Claymore, and more, let's say, from the literature, like Game of Thrones, The Black Company, stuff like this. This is what we use to create the dark fantasy tormented world, which is what we call Axiom, and it's our, let's say, real world. And on top of this, you probably noticed there is a second world, the world of Umbral. And this is our, let's say, gateway to do a bit of a twist. in the genre, but also for us an opening not only from dark fantasy, but to the realms of cosmic horror, something more Lovecraftian, with the influences of artists like Vladislav Bekinski or Giger, the creator of the Xenomorph. And also one very particular artist that helped us when we were, exploring what we were going to do for Umbral. I was fed by all the stories from César, who was like the most passionate person I ever saw. Also by Saul Gascon, our director. And from all this, I tried to find, what could be the angle for Umbral? So it's something different, something we didn't see in the action RPG genre. And I thought of this artist, a French artist, who's named Olivier de Sagazan. And he's a performer who makes very weird stuff. He adds clay and argile on his face, and he creates, in lifetime, horrible creatures and monsters with sounds and everything. And this was so striking. It was so much a good representation of nightmare above nightmare, and something that we never saw, that it was our first step to a huge
deep
garden.
well.
Yeah,
a very deep well.
Okay.
A garden of death, where we explored for years now, as in Umbral. And yeah, that's more or less how everything started.
So when you change realms, you use that lantern, right? I've seen that in a trailer. Does the gameplay also differ then?
Yes. So the dual realm concept was something that we explored very early on in the onset. And the reason for it being was that we wanted the players to play through their failure.
Sure.
To play through the game over. So you suffered game over, but that doesn't mean you're out of the fight. This is also tied to our onboarding and allowing you to, because we believe the difference between motivation and frustration is understanding why did you fail? What does the game want you to achieve? So this allows you to play through it. So we had this concept where, you are resurrecting place, not from the beginning. You're in this place, but now you have different layouts, different means to overcome the challenge, to extricate from combat or engage with certain other enemies. And this opened the Pandora's box of what happens after you die. What are the rules of this realm? It's like even when you see other shows that are like Stranger Things, the toxicity. Is that the world toxic to the player? How does that manifest? What are the creatures of this realm? Are they different? Of course they're different creatures. They look at you. They're starved for your vigor, as we call the life essence of the player. You come in a world that's desiccated, so they hone in your life force. Their nightmares, corruption made manifest. They materialize in their figments. So all these designs came out, this world that affects you mentally, because you have the dread counter. The more you spend in Umbral, the more you see illusions, the more powerful enemies converge upon you. Everything is much more erratic, but you also grow more starved in your ability to gain vigor from what you kill, so your vigor multiplier goes higher. So we crafted a world with exotic mechanics, like a black mirror held to the real world. And a lot of these mechanics, we explain them to the players, but we also hope that some of the hidden things players will find by themselves.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, guys, I'm excited. It's coming out October 13th.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to play it. I really love the style, by the way. I'm into that a lot.
I think we too. That's one of the best things of the company we built, Hexworks. From the very beginning, we always try to find passionate people, not only for the video game, but also for this type of video game. So we accumulated, I think, a huge experience on it. And what's really funny is, from the beginning of how this project just existed, we had a solid base, the very first game. We extracted what we could of it, and we added a twist. And actually, the game itself is like this. You are in a very codified genre, and we added a whole twist that's going to surprise the player. We have a whole fantasy that's very codified also, and we added a twist that's opening to cosmic horror. So yeah, I think, I hope people are going to enjoy as much as we enjoyed building it.
Yes, I bet.
We hope to add a meaningful brush stroke to the canvas of the genre.
All right. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Das waren die neuesten Infos zu The Lords of the Fallen. Ich bin sehr gespannt, wie das Game letzten Endes wird und gebe jetzt weiter an die Nächsten. Bis dann. Das war's auch leider heute hier schon von unserem Donnerstag in dem Gamescom Studio 2023 live von der Gamescom hier in Köln. Ich hoffe, ihr hattet eine schöne Zeit mit uns. Wir haben auf jeden Fall genossen, euch heute hier unterhalten zu haben. Ihr solltet definitiv morgen auch wieder einschalten, denn wir haben ein paar Knallergeschichten für euch. Wir haben ein Marvel Snap Interview für euch zum Beispiel hier oder wir sprechen mit den Entwicklern von Stalker. Ganz, ganz viel passiert sonst noch. Es gibt tolle Field-Beiträge von den verschiedenen Hallen. Da solltet ihr definitiv mal reinschauen. Und ansonsten wünsche ich euch einen schönen Tag und wir sehen uns hoffentlich morgen. Macht's gut.
Thank you.